Oh, you.
You're joining us on what so happens to be a wet Tuesday night in Loughborough for the final instalment of Takedown Tuesday, powered by Union Jack Classic. It's a rematch of the 2024 final. It's Durham versus UWE, and I'm Tash Crump. And joining me to preview this rather exciting matchup, it's Matt Walker.
Good evening, Tash. Thank you for inviting me to this tropical environment here in Loughborough.
Yeah, it's suddenly turned. It's been windy here all day, and then suddenly, right before this match, the heavens have opened, but it is starting to clear up, so hopefully no rain. Fingers crossed for the actual match. But first, let's talk a little bit about Uniball. The growth, the what's happened over the last couple of years, I guess, with the scholarships. How good has that been for university British American
Well,
football?
I think just in general, the whole university game in the UK is basically at the heart of British American football. If you think now, 2 years ago, the new National League started. There are 14 different leagues now, culminating in the National League, the Premier League itself, which sees the 5 teams, 2 of which are on display here tonight, just to try and get that competitive nature all the way through. You then think about, we saw the SGS Pride this afternoon. You think about the Bristol Aztecs in British American football in the Brickball leagues, and now you think about these UWE Bullets. And basically, some would argue that maybe Bristol is dominating, but at the same time, they're giving an opportunity to players to take that next step into the professional leagues, NCAA and beyond.
And of course, now Touchdown Tuesday being powered by Union Jack Classic. What do you think that's going to do for the game?
Oh, it's hopefully going to be massive. Come September, when Kentucky and Arizona Sun Devils hit Wembley Stadium, you know, hopefully that's going to bring a new interest. Obviously, the NCAA already has played some games over in Dublin, and that's been a real hit. So to bring that kind of football, that brand of football to London, I think is only just going to strengthen American football and hopefully the following in the UK.
Yeah, so here's a preview of what to expect in September when Union Jack Classic come over to Wembley.
This is more than a game. It's tradition. It's families. It's generations. It's pure tribalism. It's excitement like you've never experienced. Wembley Stadium 2026. Big moments, big hits, big stakes. Kansas versus Arizona State. Reserve your seats today. Tickets going fast. UnionJackClassic.com.
And that's what you can expect in September. I am now joined by 2 of the team from Union Jack Classic. We're here with Tia and Max. How are you both doing? And thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. No, we're good. Shame got a little bit rainy over here, but it seems to be clearing up. So.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a Britball game or Uniball game without rain and wind. So, yeah, we're really excited to be here.
Yeah, you're so correct with that. It would not be British American football without the weather causing some mischief. But let's get on to, as I say, while you're here, you're partnering with BUCS for this game. It's Union Jack Classic coming up in September. The game itself, it is the Kansas Jayhawks versus, we will get this right, versus Arizona State Sun Devils. So a really exciting matchup. I guess what's been the best part about kind of organising that and bringing that over here, especially to Wembley?
I think it's just about British fans can experience something which is so kind of out of this world, something potentially new for a lot of people. And obviously at the same time, we're investing a lot back into the domestic game. So kind of partnering on both sides, bringing that experience as well as sort of like improving what we already have here. But
yeah, I think as Tia mentioned, I think it's about bringing the game here. We've never had a Division 1 college game in the UK. Everyone knows the NFL, the product. It's such a commercialised, polished product now. But people don't know about the rawness and the tribalism in college football, so we're really excited to bring that for the first time.
Yeah, college football is so exciting over in the States, and so as you say, to bring that here will be even better, especially for British fans to see. And so you talk about making it a game and an opportunity, say, for the British fans to get involved. But how is that elevating British American football, and how is that helping, I guess, the players and the coaches over here?
Yeah, so I think we're doing that in a number of ways. So we're super proud to be partnering with BUCS for this game today. We've also got partnerships with BAFA, and also we've recently announced a partnership with Jacksonville Jaguars as well. So through our partnerships in the UK ecosystem, we're going to have player clinics, so players are going to be coached by Division 1 American football coaches. We're going to have referee clinics, so referees are going to get on calls with Big 12 conference referees, and also have coaching clinics. So we're going to have the head coaches speaking to Brit Ball and UK American football coaches. So it's really about growing the game on all levels, not just about the players.
And what future do you see with this? So taking it forward into the future, do you see this being a year-on-year relationship and hopefully growing it year-on-year?
100%. Well, we've got a multi-year deal with Wembley, so I think the more we can do, the better. And with this being year one, and obviously partnering with Touchdown Tuesday being the presenting sponsor, that kind of looks in the future, making the game more accessible. What can we bring over from these teams in America that can improve the game here? Make it easier for players to sort of start playing here or continue playing here at that high level. And like Max said, with the referees and coaching clinics, subsidising things like that, so it just makes the game more accessible for everyone involved.
I guess this is your first powered by Union Jack Classic. How excited are you to see you and Durham ball out today?
I'm excited. I've been following the season. I know Durham, big game for them after their fantastic season, so let's see if UWE can hold on or if Durham are going to take the crown. I'm really excited.
Awesome, well thank you both for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing what happens with the game in September.
Us too, and also one thing to mention, I think in the live stream we've got a link in the bio, so for BUCS members and BAFA members we've got specialty pricing to give back to the community to come to the game, so people on the live stream, check it out.
So you heard it here first. Make sure that you scan that QR code, get your special price tickets, and make sure you're there in September. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. See you soon.
Thank you guys.
Awesome, thank you. Well, Matt, sounds great, doesn't it?
College football is a completely different animal. I'm glad they spotted my intentional mistake there with the Kansas instead of Kentucky. But college football is a completely different animal. You think about the States, and Friday night football is all high school, and local areas shut down for what is the equivalent of secondary school games this country. Then Saturday nights, that is just literally, if your community hasn't got an NFL team, it's all about the NCAA, and we're going to get to experience that in Wembley.
We are, but now to focus on the game at hand, and that is Durham versus UWE here in Loughborough for Touchdown Tuesday, powered by Union Jack Classic. And we're looking at two teams this season, and none of them can come out of this game undefeated, because we have no undefeated team so far. So we'll start with the UWE Bullets. And so with the UWE Bullets, you've got a 7-2 season. They've had two losses, that's to Durham and Notts, both away, so they've won completely a win streak at home. They do have an opportunity to be the most decorated team in Uniball tonight if they win, and they could do the 5-peat. How exciting is that, Matt?
Well, it is, and I mentioned earlier about the fact that the Bristol area and what they're building down there, and the UWE Bullets are just testament to that. To get, not only to get to 5 national championships in a row, but to have the opportunity to beat them, and having beaten Nottingham Gold on a number of occasions, Durham 2 years ago, they've got their star quarterback, Ethan Gretzinger, Brick Bowl 37 MVP for the Bristol Aztecs. And outside him, Quinton Wimmer, the wide receiver. Those two guys went to college together. So, you know, we should be seeing those guys hook up if the weather allows, because it's pretty windy today. But no, really exciting to see UWE go for that 5-peat.
Yeah, definitely. And then we look at Durham, and Durham themselves, they've had one title, and that was in 2018, with 2017 and 2024 being the runners-up. In 2024 being runners-up to the UWE Bullets. And I guess this season as well for them, they have been the overall league, National League winners. So that's really impressive with an 8-1 record. So now let's hear a bit more from the Durham head coach.
I'm pleased to say I'm joined by head coach of the Durham Saints, Danny Ketch. Congratulations, coach, on winning that National League championship. What do you need to do today to double up and win this final?
Thanks, Matt. I think today is going to be a great game. Two very good football teams, two football teams that know each other well. Obviously, we split the series. We played really well at our place. We're really happy with how we executed. I think for me, the keys are we've got to come out, we've got to execute. The weather, whether it rains, whether the wind blows, that's not anything that we can control. We've got to come out, execute, keep our discipline. and play 4 quarters really hard and hopefully end where we're hoping to.
So Nottingham, UWE and yourselves, pretty much the top 3 in this league over the last 4, 5, 6 years almost. What does it take to maintain that sort of consistency and remain where you are today?
I think, that's something that everybody's trying to bottle, right? We just try and do what we do. We're not trying to emulate anybody else. We're not trying to do things any different. We do what we do up at Durham. Our culture is a huge part of what we do. It very much centres around everything we do, how we trust each other, how each and everybody buys into what we're trying to do. That's a huge part of how we've maintained our standing in the top division for as long as we have, but also how we've been competitive this year and and seasons previous.
UWE, we know a very, very successful outfit, going for their 5th consecutive today. What challenges do they present to you guys?
They're a great football team. They've got championship pedigree. They've been here 4 times. We get all of that. Unfortunately, history doesn't mean anything once that whistle blows. So for me, we just got to come out and play a football game. We've talked about it for a long time in terms of wanting to be here, making sure that we did everything to be here. Now we're here. Now it's time to put on a show, and that's really what we want to do.
And finally then, Danny, just not to keep you too much longer, you were here 2 years ago. What's pleased you most about this campaign bouncing back from the disappointment last year?
I think the one thing that we've continually done is we've continually got better. We've stayed really humble in what we've done. Whether we were, defeated, whether we won, we came back in every Tuesday and we worked really hard. So, we're really happy with our season, but we definitely want to finish it the right way.
Well, as the rain starts to fall here in Loughborough, thank you for your time. I wish you all the very best today.
Thanks, Matt. Go Saints.
The stage is set, so without further ado, it's time to take you up to our commentators who will be going through the match with you today. It is Matt Walker, but first, Oliver Wilson.
Thank you very much, Tash. The referees making their introductions this evening, led out by Brian Yates, our head official for this national championship game. Touchdown Tuesday comes to its culmination in the national title game between the Durham Saints and the UWE Bullets, powered in partnership by the Union Jack Classic taking place in September. That's not to be missed. This certainly should not be missed. This is a rivalry born out of a final defeat for Durham, and a handy one at that, beaten 52-0 in 2024 at the hands of the all-powerful UWE Bullets, which, as Matt mentioned earlier, are trying to turn their corner of England into the powerhouse of British American football. And with the Aztecs' success at Brit Bowl last year, few would doubt that UWE have the ability tonight to go on and become 6-time national champions at the university level. There is a Durham team out there to stop them, led by Danny Ketch, a Durham team that have beaten UWE this season and have certainly made things look rather different compared to that meeting back in 2024 in this final. Tonight, though, form goes out of the book completely. It's all about what they can do on a blustery, rainy, wet night under the lights here in Loughborough. The adrenaline soars as the UWE Bullets, the reigning champions, enter the arena. And there is a lot of huff and puff coming out of the team led by Daniel Mayer. No time for pleasantries tonight for the Bullets. It's all about business. And they know, after suffering at the hands of Durham in the regular season, that this is a task that they cannot afford to go softly into. Momentum may be with them as Cesar El Nagmi holds the UWE flag aloft above his head, and you can get a real taste of just what the difficult conditions for the passing and kicking game are potentially going to be like tonight, with how that flag is billowing in the wind. There is no doubt that confidence will be sky high for those dressed in black and red. And there is a team not to be underestimated as well, just making their way to the entrance of this field here at Loughborough University, a superb host for a fantastic day of American football action on Touchdown Tuesday. And if anybody can prevent the 5-peat and a 6th national title going to the Bullets, perhaps it's time to look on high and look at the Saints and see if Durham can go marching in to University Brit Ball history.
Please welcome to the field, the University of
Wide receiver Kenyon Utley leads them out, joined by Sam Brooks, the star safety. This is a team that mean business, and they certainly have a taste for success this season, and maybe perhaps as well, Matt Walker, a taste for revenge as well in the air this evening.
Absolutely, Ollie. Great to be here at Loughborough University. And I think, like Danny Ketch said when I interviewed him earlier on, you know, it's all about staying consistent and having that belief, and they'll definitely have that belief, having split the series with them this season, both at home and in the past. The deficit between these two has been rather large, but this time that gap has definitely narrowed.
Why has that gap narrowed? Because this is a section of the world, as you mentioned, as we discussed already, that continues to improve, not just with on-the-field talent, but also investment as well in American football at all the levels. So what has been the case that's actually made UWE look maybe a touch fallible this season?
Well, I think if you think about the locations for a start, you've got UWE down in the southwest, you've got then Nottingham Gold in the Midlands, then you've got Durham in the northeast, as I say. So you've got, it's got 3 hotbeds spanning the width of the country. So like Danny said, it's all about recruitment. It's about making sure that they've got that consistency, and obviously putting the package on show that people want to be a part of.
People certainly want to be a part of everything that's going on in Bristol right now, as the captains just lining up towards the centre of the field before we have anything else, of course, as we've had with the previous 2 games today here in Loughborough. We will kick things off with the national anthem, but there are some last words of wisdom to be imparted, not by the coaches, but by those leaders down there in that Durham Saints huddle.
Worth saying as well, Ollie, you mentioned referee Brian Yates as well. What a legend of the game he is in the British American football community. Great to have him here tonight as well.
Certainly the kind of official that you want in charge of such a big occasion like this. We should have no complaints, see you say, Matt, with any of the decisions that get made down there as the teams line up for the national anthem. Caps back on for the officials. They will congregate at centre field. We will see the captains walk out for the coin toss for the national championship game. Those that are stood on the sidelines will have to wait and watch and just perhaps temper nerves, adrenaline, maybe expectations of what this night will hold in store for them. It's going to be a difficult evening for those lining up under centre if they want to move the ball through the air. Nico Candido, the number 10 for Durham Saints, and the man who's becoming very much well renowned across Brit Ball right now, Ethan Gretzinger. Both young men that have the ability to move the ball quickly and pack a hefty punch downfield, but it may well just be limited with the miserly conditions that we've got here in Loughborough. 44-mile-an-hour gusts are certainly going to prove difficult to play in special teams and at times on offense.
Yeah, Candido passed for just over 1,800 yards this season, 35 passing TDs, only 2 picks, and also hit pay dirt twice on the ground as well. So, as you mentioned, those conditions tonight might affect that significantly, but we know he's got that calibre.
Brooks, Sparks, Candido and Utley leading the Saints out to midfield. Aidan Bice, the left guard, along with Josh Brees, the tailback, who might see a lot of action this evening for UWE and Sam East as well.
This is the coin, that's the heads, that's the tails, okay? That's the heads, and that's the tails, okay? What's your call?
Calls heads.
Heads, yep. Heads is called. That's a heads, you want the toss.
Yeah, I want to defer.
You would defer, okay. Deferring to the second half. I guess you want to take the ball? Which way do you want to kick, guys?
Kick it that way.
Okay, no problem at all. Thank you. You can turn it back to the goal you're defending, please. First half option, it were Durham Saints. They will take the ball. Thank you, gentlemen. Enjoy the game.
So Durham will take the ball first then for the opening kickoff. It's been a patient wait for Durham since that victory in Worcester over Derby in 2018. It has been a long wait, I'm sure, for the last 2 years just to get back to this sort of position. But for Danny Mayer and the UWE Bullets, it's a chance to cement themselves as the most successful team in University Brit ball history. Nobody has won 6 national titles. They have 5. Birmingham have 5, and Hertfordshire Hurricanes also have 5. It might be a night to assert the status quo, or it might be a night to completely tear it up. The next 4 quarters of football will decide it.
And prior to this season, Ollie, you would think, well, this could be another stroll for UWE, but those results this year, 29-6 decision to Durham at home, and then that win for UWE might not make things happen that way. Here we go.
It's certainly too close to call coming into it. Durham will receive, will return, and they will look for a big one as well. Chance Sparks is back there, waiting on one side of the field to collect. A lot of these have gone out of bounds on the kickoffs so far today, but it's a decent kick that's going to be fielded around the 17-yard line, and Sparks will just race out to his right, try and find an avenue and get brought down, but not before he scrambles forward for an extra yard, and it will start at the 29-yard line for the Durham Saints. So Nico Candido comes out to lead this offense. You mentioned it already, Matt, almost 2,000 yards through the air, 35 touchdowns, a captain, a leader for this offense, and a man as well who has experience playing in North America, which cannot be underestimated how powerful that can be. Brendan Pagan, who also plays linebacker, coming out as the tailback. It's a spread offense to start things on 1st and 10 for Durham. And they'll just go with the simple handoff up the middle that isn't going to go for very much at all, and Pagan is dropped back and loses his helmet in the process as well. Great first burst on that defensive line.
Yeah, Mark Anthony Akanegbu coming straight through. UWE playing this 4-3 defence, 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and at the moment you'd think they'll be trying to establish that running game, the Saints, particularly given the conditions.
Loss of 1 on the play, 2nd and 11, Durham coming out of the gun once again. Will they try and restrict going to the air? Not to be the case. Candido looks, fires through the hands of his receiver and falls incomplete. Had a bit of separation as well, Marcus Libman, but unable to bring that one in, slightly low perhaps as well, the pass from Candido.
Yeah, conditions brave to go on second down passing. You don't want to become one-dimensional and just run that football, but you saw the way that ball just almost slightly slipped out of the quarterback's hand and ended up going down near the bootlaces of his intended receiver. 3rd down.
3 receivers spread left now for Candido. 3rd and 11, needs a big play, goes short to his right side and is able to find his receiver Libman this time. Not going to pick up the yardage to make a successful conversion on downs, and I imagine the punt unit is going to be coming out nice and early, and that's a big positive and a win early on in the column for UWE Bullets.
Troy Anderson there coming from his safety position, number 0 for the Bullets. Brings up 4th and long, and punt situation ensuing.
one of a number of players who's got really good experience elsewhere outside of the university game, Anderson. And that is the wealth of talent that UWE have on offer to them, as the punt, which was being waited for patiently by Josh Brees, goes out of bounds inside the Saints half. And Bristol will take over with fantastic field position. The UWE Bullets then set up and ready to go here.
Be interested to see there, Ollie. I'm not sure whether that ball seemed to come off the side of the punter's boot, whether or not there was a slight deflection on there. Doesn't seem to be a response or reaction from the special teams of the Bullets, but definitely not the field position that the Saints would have wanted the Bullets to have on their first possession.
I think that's very much just a whiff off the right boot of the punter, as we get to see the first touch for Ethan Gretzinger, and just giving it off to the tailback. Absolutely nowhere to go towards the line of scrimmage. Loss of one on the play. Not exactly how Josh Brees would have wanted to start things. The MVP of the championship game last season, led the league in rushing last season as well. He's set to be a member of the Bristol Aztecs as well in the coming Senior Bowl season. And one of the key threats for Daniel Mayo, who was so busy before kickoff, we didn't have a chance to come and chat with him, unfortunately. A lot on his plate, perhaps a tougher task than he was expecting this season against Durham. Gretzinger comes out. Once again, it's just a handoff to the tailback, Brees, who's able to work his way forward and pick up a healthy chunk of yardage, and leaving about 4 to go for the first down. Third down coming up.
Those boys in the trenches don't often get the recognition they deserve, but Dion Musvanamoto, number 55, and Braden Bice there, 59, paving the way for a good pickup on second down.
They move Brees out to the wide out position. Gretzinger's still got a tailback alongside him. 3 receivers spread out to the right, and they do just give the handoff. Short, sharp burst up the centre of the field once more, and that should be enough for a fresh set of downs for UWE.
So definitely looking to assert that ground game. The conditions we've already spoken about, gusting here in Loughborough. 3 plays, 3 runs, and a first down to boot, just inside the 35 of the Saints.
First and 10 for Gretzinger. Empty backfield, 5 wide receivers. Flush to his right straight away, feeling the pressure. Able to stay on his feet, takes a shot as he throws, and a loose ball as well over to his right-hand side that was almost picked off as Gretzinger just scrambling away from the presser. Chance Sparks in the vicinity, but unable to bring that one in, and flags fly on the play as well.
Yeah, you see all the speed that Sparks closed
Pass
there.
interference. Number 13 on the offence. 15-yard penalty to first down.
After the penalty, UWE getting marched backwards 15 yards as well to add insult to injury. They won't like the fact that Gretzinger took a shot on the end of that one either, but that might be the kind of night that he needs to have. He is renowned for being a wonderfully mobile quarterback and accurate when he's on the move as well. The reason want to take more shots like that over the next 4 quarters.
Sorry, Ollie. The reason he found himself in that position, sort of exposed, was the pressure that Gavin Tatum of the Saints put on him from that right end position, completely coming round the left-hand side of the Bullets line and flushing the quarterback out of the pocket.
Gretzinger faking the handoff, then keeps it in his hands and feels the pressure again from Tatum. He getting into the backfield along with others.
Did he complete that to himself?
Look, if you want to start calling him the Marcus Mariota of British University American football, I'll let you start doing that, Matt. But Gretzinger and this drive is just not clicking right now.
Let's have a look. So the pressure comes. I think he does retake that football. He does, and he'd have been probably wiser just to bat that one down with the pressure once again of Tatum et al. Coming through from that right-hand side of the line.
Gretzinger gives the hand off to his tailback, bouncing back inside, but only finding a minimal crease before he's smothered by Jalen Wood and co.
That's great patience and lateral pursuit there by the defensive front of these Saints. Big bodies up there. And the Bullets looked to have things going after those first 3 plays, but now they found themselves in third and an absolute bus ride.
We'll say, by the way, that we have been given a roster by UWE Bullets. It doesn't actually contain the number 9, so we will do our best to try and find out who exactly is playing at tailback. Daniel Mayer passing us the information yesterday evening, not giving anything away and maybe having a couple of secrets left in his back pocket as well. It's 3rd and long in the meantime for the Bullets. Gretzinger dropping back, feeling the pressure again. He's been roughed and hurried on every single play so far, and a superb top once again from Chance Sparks coming in to break up after the easy completion, but minimal gain on the play. Sam East on the connection.
You saw then the defense trying to confuse the quarterback, threatening that blitz. 2 linebackers up in the gaps. So the quarterback, the offensive line, didn't know who was about to come, and then Derek Elshots drops back into coverage and forces that pass to come out quickly, bringing up 4th down.
Saw Gretzinger as he walked off there, just going off screen, just looking at that elbow and feeling a couple of those bumps and bruises early on. Long night under the lights here in Loughborough if that sort of pain and pressure continues. Malashon Franklin Jr. back to punt. Stood at his own 40-yard line. We've got flags on the play already. This could be UWE going back another step or 2.
Delay of the game. Kicking team, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
That's exactly what it is. Another 5 yards tacked back behind the original line of scrimmage. 4th and a miracle. Certainly now a bit more room perhaps though for Franklin Jr. just to try and pick his spot where he wants to put this punt. Poison the call immediately from the Saints, and everybody walks away from it as they're pinned down at the 25-yard line. There's a pretty good punt there from Malashon Franklin Jr. Flag on the play still.
Personal foul, illegal block below the waist. Number 59 on the offense, 15 yards previous spot, replay 4th down.
Back again after the illegal block below the waist from Braden Bice. I think this is about as large as I've seen in terms of penalties on a single drive, let alone a single play on this down, 4th down. 4th and 35, we're not quite at 50 yards needed, but we're getting close.
Well, you could argue the occasion for some of these guys. Obviously, the fact that these are in the 5th straight national championship game, it isn't necessarily the same roster by any stretch, the one that was there 5, maybe 4 years ago. So there will be some nerves of the occasion. Obviously, it's a night game, the weather as well. So lots of factors impacting this early on, and it seemed very edgy from the Bullets so far.
Tell you what, it's not a night to be stood there on the sideline. If you're an offense, you want to be going to work, as it's a fake punt that isn't exactly going to help matters for UWE there, as Franklin Jr. trying to do his best in a dire situation, brought down well before the fresh to the down markers, and no chance to boot that one downfield, and it's superb field position for the Durham Saints for their 2nd offensive drive of the game, right in the heart of the Bullets' half.
Yeah, Franklin Jr. had no chance. That snap was flying over his head, and all he could do was snag it and then try and just tuck and make the best of a bad situation. But like you say, Ollie, Durham take over in prime field position now inside Bullets territory.
Candido with a spread offense in front of him. Gives a little pitch to his tailback as Pagan finds some room up the left sideline, brought down, but not before a decent pickup on the play of a handful of yards.
Yeah, Michael Gallery on the tackle there for the Bullets, firing from his linebacker position. And good job he made that tackle, because there was daylight ahead of the runner.
I'm going to call it about 7 on the play. 2nd and 3 to go here. Candido looking to his sideline. 3 receivers spread out to his right. Pagan on his right hip. Time to stand in the pocket and wait for something to materialise. He didn't take it and got moving forward perhaps a little too quickly as he runs into the jaws of those big defensive linemen. Michael Gary in on the play, one of those to bring down Candido.
Well, Michael Gary gets the credit there, but you've got to look at that as almost like a secondary sack. Dropped into a cover 2, that's 2 safeties high. The corners then man-to-man, and they stuck with their men really, really well, not giving quarterback any opportunity to find a receiver downfield, hence having to take off and make the best of it.
Now it's an empty backfield for the quarterback coming out of the gun. 3rd and short, only yard needed or so, but they'll look through the air, forced to roll to his right and heaving one deep and out of bounds in these tough conditions in the lights, and there was nobody open either really deep or on the short routes. Marcus Libman close on this near side, but frustration perhaps for Danny Ketch, who will watch a drive perhaps just starting to stall. He's going to keep the offense out though on 4th and short to try and convert this, and surely, Matt, you've got to be looking at just keeping this ball on the ground and getting the yards the hard way.
Oh, interesting. They're in that sort of pistol formation, so they've got to get to about 5 yards when the back gets the ball to actually gain 1. Oh, and there's a false start, and that's not going to help things. Big number 69 in the middle, Chris Taylor making the equation for Danny Ketch now.
False start. 69 on the offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 4th down.
Apologies, Brian Yates. Probably now Ketch will decide to kick this one away and try and pin the Bullets deep, although looks like the offense is still out there.
Yeah, offense staying on the field for the moment at least. Candido will get his chance, but it's 6 yards now required, and maybe the aerial attack comes back into the equation. Receiver spread left and right, and it's an awful snap. Candido able to collect it on the run, looking up, takes a shot as he throws, and then there's contact in the aftermath as well as it falls down at the feet of Cameron Lee, who was the short underneath option for the quarterback. That is a nasty hit though for Nico Candido to be taking at the end of that one, and he and that offense limp off as the drive does stall in Bullets territory.
Yeah, great to see Candido jumping up from that one. And sometimes when these plays go awry and they're off script, people can make something of them. But Candido looks, he bravely steps into the tackle, and it's Loxley Burke Jr. fires through, hits him low as well. And it's good to see Candido managing to jog off the field, looking like he's going to fight to live to fight another day rather.
Just wondered if the officials would look at the contact from Micah Berra there at the end of that one with the, shall we say, cute bump on Cameron Lee, to put it lightly. But turnover on downs, and the Bullets come out once again with Gretzinger out of the gun. They give the handoff, flags fly as the ball is taken up the centre of the field by Brees.
I'll tell you what, Ollie, I know when Tash and I were down there on the sideline pre-game, you walk past some of these guys and there are some big human beings down there, and trying to...
Illegal formation, offense, 5 players in the backfield. It remains 1st down.
Yeah, so trying to establish the ground game, whether you're on the offensive line or the defensive line, is no mean feat, with pounds grinding into each other on that front.
Well, you've got some big units out there, and you've also got the ability for the D coordinators to hone in on the fact that it is going to be difficult through the air tonight, as Gretzinger once again just gives the handoff short up the centre of the field as they continue to try and do it the hard way. The Bullets, again, minimal gain after the penalty, moving the Bullets back to 1st and 15, and a couple of yards re-picked up by Josh Brees. Important to get him going tonight, isn't it? Just to even that playing field a little bit more.
Absolutely, you can see there from that run, he's very patient in the backfield. He's trying to wait, he gets the ball, he tries to wait to see if his offensive line can create anything up front, and then tries to accelerate through a hole, but there's just nothing there at the moment. This defensive front of the Saints has its own way with the Bullets offensive line.
Gretzinger going to the air this time, and it can't be brought in by his intended target, and it's his favourite target as well. I thought that was Vimmer for a second, excuse me, the 44, it's the 14 in fact of Jamar Clark instead, one of the cleanest route runners in the game for the UWE offense. But another incomplete, and another difficult 3rd and long coming up for the Bullets.
Yeah, that one kind of came straight towards us, and for a minute it looked like Gretzinger just put it out of his reach, but that was a catchable ball, and one that he would have hoped to have rolled in rather. So here we go then.
Gretzinger rolling out to his left. Options open on this near sideline, but again it falls short of Jamar Clark going for that same option again on the comeback route, but Gretzinger just not looking as accurate moving from right to left, and difficult as well to open up that shoulder and find his intended target.
Exactly what I was going to say, Ollie. For a right-handed quarterback there to roll to his left, then have to try and set those feet to try and deliver a dime. And that ball again just came out wrong because his feet weren't quite set in the right position, his shoulders weren't square, and the ball just died on him. So 4th down again, Bullets. Saints going to get the ball in good field possession for their 3rd offensive series of the afternoon.
Sean Franklin Jr. once again back to punt. He'll be hoping for a slightly better snap than he had to deal with last time. And he does. And he gets the punt off up to about the 50-yard line, and it's allowed to bounce. It takes a fantastic Bullets bounce as well that rolls all the way back to the 20. Well left by Ricky Eng, the wide receiver, kick return and punt return specialist, but he must have been frustrated to have seen that just dribbling all the way back and lining the Saints up at the 20.
We talk a lot about offense, we talk a lot about defense. Sometimes the special teams get overlooked, but particularly with the punter, that just shows you the value of a really effective punter switching the field. UWE have been under pressure for the last sort of 5-6 minutes with the Saints camped in their own half, and now they get to turn the screw the other way with the Saints looking to pick this one up just outside their own 20-yard line.
3:40 to go in the first. Candido once again operating out of the gun, as he probably will do for the majority of the night tonight. It's a direct snap to the tailback. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but it's going to be working out all rightly for Pagan, who's able to push his way forward and make something out of what looked like it could have easily been nothing in the end. A bit of confusion perhaps in the backfield. Or Matt, do you think that was actually intended for the tailback?
Well, I need to have a quick look at the replay, because you'd think it's a brave play to call as they go to the no-huddle offense, trying to speed things up on the Bullets. So we're not going to have an opportunity, but I would be surprised if Ketch was calling that at that particular time in that particular location on 1st down.
Also seemed rather unnecessary when you could just give it to the quarterback in the safe pair of hands, as Candido comes out of the gun with 3 receivers right. Again, it was a slightly awkward snap, but again, the Saints are going to do something with it as the quarterback taking it into his own hands, getting the 1st down and a little bit extra as well on top of it, and moving those chains as they get up to the 35-yard line.
I mentioned earlier on about sometimes how broken plays can be the most effective. Off-script plays, when the defense is set up looking at a certain formation, they've maybe scouted before, and then all of a sudden the quarterback has to snag something in, go off-script, and there you go, there's a pickup of 10 for a 1st down.
If I'm Ollie Monahan, though, I'm not exactly enjoying seeing those snaps looping into the air to one of the 2 backs that he's got behind his offensive line. Again, it's a direct snap to Pagan. And this time the bounce off the left side of the line doesn't produce really anything at all, just about getting back towards the line of scrimmage. But it does seem like that it's an intentional tactic almost to try and confuse and just get that half misstep one way or the other right now for that Bullets defense.
Yeah, it does. I'm not convinced, though, about, if I'm perfectly honest with you, about Candido's blocking. Obviously, you don't want to put your quarterback in danger this early on in a game, and when he's going in to hit one of those D linemen, you can see he's a tad tentative, understandably, but hey.
Lee coming in alongside him as well as another tailback. Extra blockers in though for Candido. Dumps it off to the left side. Finds his target. And a minimal gain on the play. And on the tackle was Michael Gary once more. A decent pickup on that side from Nathaniel Castro down there, getting a bit of time on offense. The man who more often than not is a starting corner for the Saints. 3rd down and a manageable 4 here for Candido. 4 wideouts, 1 running back. Candido keeps on the option, then pitches it beautifully. And look at the avenue opening up there for Cameron Lee. Out of the backfield, the wide receiver, happy to take the pitch and happy to take the yards that come with it as well. 1st down, Saints.
You talk about timing. The timing from Candido there. He didn't have a lot of time when he first got the ball, but he timed that to perfection so that the incoming defender had to take the man with the ball, and then Candido pitched that perfectly out to his halfback, who picks up a chunk for a 1st down. 18
touchdowns on the year for Cameron Lee, team single season record. What he'd give for another one tonight. 1st down just inside Bullets territory. Candido steps, hit as he throws, and that's why it falls incomplete.
Yeah, looking for Nathaniel Castro there down the seam. The Bullets now switch from that 2 safety look that we saw in the previous series now to just that 1 high safety. So Candido now really is going to be looking for the corners either side rather than going down the seam, and he was just hit as he threw that time, which obviously took the velocity off the football.
About a minute and 20 to go in this first quarter that has remained as tight as we expected it to be, really, in this national championship affair. Candido dropping back on second down, flushed out to his left, not the way he wants to go, but he'll make it work for him as he steps back inside and goes diving up the centre of the field, and Candido getting close to another first down.
I was listening to your broadcast earlier on. You mentioned a number of quarterbacks. I've already mentioned Mariota there. I think that was reminiscent of a good old Steve Young scramble, making a bit of something out of nothing there and being brave. Look at him, like you say, he drops back to pass, got a little bit of time, then he's flushed, rolls to his left, like you say, for a right-handed quarterback, directs traffic downfield, makes the first man miss, stiff arms the second man, and before you know it, he's got a Saints first down.
And they're quick to the line once again with that fresh set of downs in their hands now. 1st and 10. Candido takes the snap, fakes the handoff, and in and out of the hands of his receiver on the slant inside. And there was daylight as well for Cameron Lee, who's starting to become a real figure in this national championship game.
Wow, that was a rocket on the coverage there. Loxley Burke Jr. But if it had made that, there was daylight in front of him. Just that one single high safety there. They're switching it up on this drive. 2 safeties a couple of plays before. Now they've got back. There we go. You can see that one safety just over to the far side there, or the near side, just off your camera. There he is. You've got a kind of a linebacker, hybrid linebacker safety position to the left-hand side of the screen.
Candido stands in the pocket, finds Lee this time, who had to work to be able to bring that one in and maybe just stifled slightly with his momentum. Brought down in the centre of the field from Micah Berra with the tackle. It makes it a much easier 3rd and 5 now for the Saints. Important yardage as well to prevent the 3rd and long coming up. Time ticking down, and it looks like that the Saints are happy to walk this one off until the end of the first quarter, and a chance to reassess then for both offences and defence on either sideline, because it has been a nail biter so far with very little to separate these two teams in the national championship game in Brit Uni Ball. Sponsored and brought to you by the Union Jack Classic. Touchdown Tuesday's grand finale after a quarter is at zeros. Durham 0, UWE Bullets 0. And let's just remind ourselves of exactly what that partnership with the Union Jack Classic is going to bring come September.
This is more than a game. It's tradition. It's families. It's generations. It's pure tribalism. It's excitement like you've never experienced. Wembley Stadium 2026. Big moments, big hits, big stakes. Kansas versus Arizona State. Reserve your seats today. Tickets going fast. UnionJackClassic.com.
Yeah, the Union Jack Classic, UnionJackClassic.com, and of course you can get your tickets there or via scanning the QR code in the top right corner of your screen as we get set for the second quarter to get underway. And a 3rd and 5 for the Saints here as Candido takes the snap, dishes it out to Utley, is wide out, who tries to force things on the wide receiver screen, had blockers in front of him, but maybe just short of the first down marker. There are a few in support, but there were a fair few as well looking to bring him down. Braden Bice, one of those who was helping in on the tackle.
It's been like a heavyweight boxing match so far, hasn't it? Blows to the abdomen. Jab, jab, jab. No haymaker just yet.
I was going to say, no one's even tried to throw one yet. No one's tried to launch that big punch and a knockout blow. 4th and short, and a timeout being called.
And I was going to say,
Timeout. UWE. The first of the half.
the end of that first quarter probably came at the wrong time for the Saints, because with this hurry-up offense, they've got these bullets on the back foot, and they're not only keeping their own defense off the field and giving them time to recuperate, but this Bullets defense is going to get tired. They had that break, and now you're seeing first couple of plays into the second quarter, they're taking a timeout just to try and give themselves a little bit of breathing room, particularly with the Saints knocking on the door of the red zone.
Yeah, a massively important fourth down as well, because in this sort of field position, if you can garner that momentum on offense, as you allude to there, right around near the red zone, this is the time where the Saints can try and make that momentum turn into points, and it seems like points are going to be few and far between so far from what we've seen, and potentially priceless as well in the push towards a national title. It'd be interesting to see just what has been cooked up by Ollie Monaghan on the sideline as well, though, for this offence for the Durham Saints. Do they have a bag of tricks, or do they try and keep things nice and simple with Candido? Candido just happy to give the handoff to his tailback, and that's going to get moving forward for a fresh set of downs. Huge conversion there by Pagan, able to force it over.
He's done ever so well there, because he was met immediately at the line of scrimmage, but the angle of his body kept him such that his momentum was falling forward and managed to pick up enough for that first down.
It's going to seem like a really small play when you're just watching it on an individual basis, but in the grand schemes of this game, that conversion on fourth down could be a game changer. Receivers spread left and right to either side. No sign of extra pressure coming as Candido stands, throws, hits his target on the left sideline, Ricky Eng, and flags fly as well at the end of the play.
That's going to be a late hit out of bounds. He hit him low on the sideline there. That's going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty against the Bullets.
We've mentioned it a few times today with some of the other penalties we've seen in the other games, but it's those footballing fundamentals and clear.
After the play, dead ball, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defence, half distance to the goal, automatic first down.
And that clear head as well to not make those sorts of mistakes and gift easy yards suddenly to your opposition, as the chain gang is helped out and moved even further down, and that puts the Saints now right knocking on the door at the 11-yard line. They're going to spot this one. Candido comes out with three receivers right. Now the Bullets look like they might bring extra pressure. That's exactly what they do. Candido stands into it and throws, and it's far too far away from Utley to be able to make the turn over his back shoulder. There was some real fire in that as well from Candido, who was sensing the pressure, and there was a lot of it coming.
This dink and dunk offense just working its way down the field gradually, keeping things different. Run up the middle, then you dink on a little hook play, then you come back on a little screen to the outside, and before you know it, you're knocking on the door at the 11, like you say, second down.
Brennan Pagan just on that right shoulder of Candido as he rolls to his right looking for the space and separation, finds his target, juggling and dropped in the end though by Ricky Eng, who was again feeling the pressure. Great coverage coming in that secondary for the Bullets. 3rd and 10. Two great possibilities for Durham really to at least advance this ball a little further down the field. You talked about the dink and dunk offense. When you get into these situations, when you're close to the end zone, suddenly that space that you've got to operate in with the spread offense seems really minimal right now, and I think that Candido's just feeling that those windows have got a little tighter. Big 3rd down coming up for the Saints. Want to come away with points on this drive. Candido's got a man right in his face, throws it over the middle, and it's dropped incomplete. Looking for Cameron Lee, beautifully broken up just on the front centre of the end zone. And again, the Bullets secondary doing enough to keep Durham Saints out of the end zone.
Well, Durham have great success marching that ball. The reason that ball was behind him, look at the pressure coming from the right-hand side of the screen. He drops back, but immediately right-hand side of the screen, and he had a man wide open on the left, and that meant that the ball was behind the intended receiver. And as I say, they've marched so far down the field from their own 20-yard line, but that bend don't break philosophy from the Bullets really comes to fruition there.
Infraction. 12 men on the field, 5 yards, still 4th down.
And not only you can hear the wind from Brian Yates down there, but that's going to make it even more difficult to try and notch up the first 3 points of the evening.
12 men on the field, so the Saints gets moved back another 5 yards. It means that this field goal will be about a 31-yarder for Daniel Crane. Oh, it's a bobbled snap as well, and it's suddenly emergency mode as it's gathered by Chance Sparks, but he can't do anything but fall down at the 28-yard line and take the loss, and a drive that looked like it could be resulting in the first touchdown of this national championship game ends up falling in a 4 and out and a turnover for the UWE Bullets defense.
Just when you think Durham have wrestled the momentum back, the snap gets bobbled, as you mentioned, and then it's panic stations, and there's nothing you can do than just make sure you don't cough that football up and make a bad situation worse. But yeah, that momentum now switches from the Durham sideline straight to the Bullet sideline as they start first down on the 25.
It's also destroyed our opportunity to talk about a crane kick, which is Very frustrating indeed, but the Bullets won't mind one bit. Grexinger takes the snap, gives the handoff to his running back, bouncing off that left side of the line, cutting back in. But again, that linebacker call for the Saints, just able to bring him down before the gain is too detrimental. Should be about 5 yards on the play. 2nd and 6 it looks like. Three receivers right. Gretsinger just hands it off. Again, the tailback looking to bounce it on the outside. Nowhere to go once again, though, as that running game just stuttering and stifling to try and get going forward.
Love to be able to give number 55 credit. Unfortunately, not on our roster, but a great heads-up play in the middle there, limiting the runner to no more than a yard or two.
Third and 5 then, another handoff straight up the middle. That's the gap that the Bullets have been looking for, and quick as a bullet into enemy territory across the halfway line. That's one of those splash plays that suddenly completely switches the whole feel of a drive when you can pull that sort of gain off on a 3rd and 5 with a run straight up the centre. Quickly to the line, Gretsinger as well as they take the snap.
Yeah, you've just missed that last play, but that just highlighted the patience, but then the explosion through the hole by the Bullets runner. What happened on first down there, Ollie?
Brief run straight up the centre of the field, unfortunately, but this is the big play that started to break things off for the Bullets and get that momentum moving well and truly in their favour. In the meantime, it's a minimal gain on first down that gives them about 3-4 yards, and they go to the ground once more, fighting for extra yardage. A gain of possibly 4 that will leave a 3rd and 1 for the Bullets.
Personal foul, face mask, number 55, first down.
And that was the player who made the tackle. Once again, he'll be glad that I've not got a name for him at the moment, but he made a great play a couple of plays earlier. This time he tacks on 15 at the end of a good run. You can't help but love to see a running back keeping those legs pumping, particularly when he's got a man almost twice his size trying to bring him to the earth.
Yeah, it was fairly clear and obvious as well as the rain continues to come down here in Loughborough. Another handoff up the middle coming from the Bullets as they try to, now in similar sort of field position to what we saw Durham kind of lingering around when their drive stalled, as Mackenzie Ellis gets a rare carry out of the backfield and drives forward for a handful of yards, possible pickup of 2 on the play. Getting down towards the red zone here. Gretsinger relying on that run game throughout this drive so far. He sends Quinton Vimmer in motion to the slot on his left. Gretsinger trying to turn away from the trouble. Did that ball come out as well? Have the Saints been able to dive onto it? Gretsinger being flung down to the ground in almost a suplex move, and that ball started to come out, and the Bullets and their quarterback able to pounce on it while on the deck. It's a huge recovery that from the number 5.
Back-to-back plays by number 48. You see him standing up there, coming untouched, juggled by the quarterback Gretsinger, and then Elschultz wrestles into the ground. He looks like Gretsinger tries to pitch that ball to his runner, which is not the best advice for him, but manages to get back on it. But Elschultz with back-to-back big plays for the Saints defense.
3rd and long. Tailback alongside Gretsinger. They picked up a big chunk on the ground as pressure comes up the middle. They try to set up the screen. It's going to fall right at the feet of Josh Brees. Gretsinger hit in the backfield, and there are flags there as well. And this could be a free, fresh set of downs coming after a mistake, really, from the Durham Saints defense.
It's exactly going to be that. All the body weight landing on the quarterback.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 55, automatic first down.
Well, the man with no name continues to be given a few nicknames, I'm sure, in those defensive huddles right now. It's another poor penalty to give away. It's so unnecessary too, particularly when Gretzinger looks so off balance as he tried to offload that screen pass to Brees.
You've got to make sure that when you're tackling that quarterback, particularly as you're taking him to the ground, that you don't drive him into the ground. You make an attempt to not to land with that full body weight on top. Make the referee see that you're taking those hands off him. And that was what was at fault there. First down, Bullets.
1st and 10 as they give the handoff once again. It's bounced off to the right side of the line. Super tackle coming in to stall it before the end zone from Derek L. Schultz once more. And it looks like he's going to be the one to be that absolute ball hawk in that run game when it starts going left and right, particularly off that right side of the Bullets offensive line. Gretzinger with a tailback on the left hip. 3 receivers left. Stands, throws, loops it over the middle and almost picked off. It is picked off. Juggled on the way to the ground, but Chance Sparks, the key safety in the secondary, able to keep hold of that with an almost miracle catch for the turnover. Unbelievable athleticism. And Durham, just as the Bullets broke hearts at the other end of the field on defense, strike back with their own big play from that side of the ball.
Not quite sure who he'd seen to throw that ball to, but the graduate of Linfield University, Oregon, leads the nation with 4 kickoff returns for a touchdown. There's 6 picks and 2 of those going back for touchdowns. That's the play before. That was the run before with L. Schultz on the tackle. And that very next play, Gretzinger maybe just saw ghosts there and put that ball up on an exceptionally athletic play, as you mentioned, Ollie, to reel that one in for a touchback.
1st and goal from the 20 for Durham. It's all about measuring the adrenaline and keeping it all composed, but that offense is going to love being on the field right now. Nice connection to Ricky Yang, who makes something happen to get those chains moving up their sideline. And Durham looking to once again just inject some pace with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter.
I'll try and talk about that play a little bit later if I can, but this is where you think about it. It's not just quarterback and receiver, obviously your O-line, but if you saw there, Canyon Utley, number 14, he gets downfield. You know, this is the pick previously, and just watch Gretzinger. He kind of throws quickly because he feels the pressure, and that ball just floats on him in the wind. As we're back in action and 1st down, Candido scrambling to his right-hand side, and he looks to try and make something happen and hits his man with a great off-script play for a pickup of maybe 4 on 1st down.
Ricky Yang once again and on the grab, as both he and Cameron Lee have had some useful grabs for Candido when he's been moving around in that backfield. There are some discussions being had on that Bullets sideline about how that offensive drive got away from them. But as you mentioned there, Matt, the real reason it got away was just a wayward throw of Gretzinger looking to his favourite target. Things slowed down now by Candido, taking a patient route here. Minimal gain coming up the centre, although an excellent extra effort as well from Brennan Pagan, who's showing that despite his perhaps slightly diminutive stature, he is willing to run as hard as anybody. Maybe a pickup of 2 on the play, and a 3rd and 9 I think is going to be coming up here for the Saints.
Big tackle in the hole there by Mark Anthony Akanegbu, number 18, and that man again, Marco Gallery, number 49.
Durham again just slowing it down. Candido and the offense staying in the spread. Faking the handoff and immediately forced to roll backwards, but does exceptionally well to stay on his feet. Ango looking for his target down the centre, Lee. Candido was hit on the end of that as well, and it was close to being late.
Well, he was sandwiched. It was almost a Candido Panini, the way that the 2 Bullet defenders converged on him. And again, from our position, it looked like there was a lot of body weight going down on him, but not enough to draw the flag from the official.
Soon to be available in the Durham University cafeteria if they come away with a national title tonight, the Candido Panini. 4th and 10, and the punt unit out in the meantime.
Based on that last play, it's going to be a slippery food item, the way he got away from that pressure.
Tastes good with a victory, though. Chance for Brees, who's just going to allow this to bounce and go out of bounds at the 34-yard line. Again, there's a bit of afters just in the centre of the field as well. A couple of players with a little bit of pushing and shoving, and a face mask being claimed that it was ripped off there by number 55 for the Saints. So again, after the turnover, the Bullets survive with 4:30 to go in this second quarter. We are still scoreless. It's a stalemate. It's nothing like what we saw 2 years ago. And the almighty thumping that the Bullets put on the Durham Saints, it's certainly nothing like the dominant national titles that have been won in the last 4 years. Particularly the success over Nottingham that the Bullets have had. Gretzinger gives the handoff to his running back. Minimal gain up the centre for 2. They continue just to keep things simple with Gretzinger in the offence for the majority of the time here. It's interesting because we've seen at other levels Gretzinger has the ability to be so creative, to make those plays, to make those throws. Tonight the rhythm hasn't been found so far as we get towards the end of the second quarter. He's having to be patient to let this game almost come to him. Again, they go with the running back out of the backfield. That's an excellent drive, though, to pick up 6 yards. Flags fly in the backfield, however, and this one could potentially be coming back. It's a flag down just at the line of scrimmage, much to the frustration of the Bullets and their running back.
Holding, number 59. 10-yard penalty, remains second down.
Braden Bice in on the hold, and that will march the Bullets back 10 yards once again. 2 steps forward, 10 yards back. Always frustrating for any offence at any level of this game.
As we said, Ollie, we're all toasty warm up in the comms booth here, but you look down to our right, look at the way those flags are blowing. It's ever likely the case that we're going to get errors, but discipline errors in terms of holding and personal fouls, that sort of thing, they're inexcusable. Execution errors through the air, maybe a little bit more understandable.
Gretzinger out of the gun, second and long. Once again, they just go to the running back. No room whatsoever for Josh Brees, who's trying to twist and turn and evade the tacklers, but Kamil Granovsky, one of the first there to meet him, slow him down and make sure there's no considerable gain on the play, and third and what will feel like a mile, particularly in this wind and these rainy conditions, although I will say the rain has just started to hold off slightly here at Loughborough. The far side of the field is far easier to see than it has been earlier this evening. 3 wide receivers to the right. Tail back alongside Gretzinger. 1 to his left. And pressure being shown. Gretzinger fakes the handoff and rolls out to his right. Stands, hit as he throws. Tossing up a ball that Vimmer can't get his hands onto. Under pressure, in on the coverage. Chance Sparks once again, who's seemingly everywhere right now in that secondary. And again, Durham do enough to take the offence of the Bullets off the field.
Yeah, they try and use a little bit of play action that time, do the Bullets. That fake to the halfback just to try and get the linebackers to bite down, giving quarterback an opportunity to roll round, but before he knew it, Kamil Granovsky was in his face, not allowing him to step into that throw, and therefore the ball ended up going errant down the field again.
Franklin Jr. being kept busy in the punt game this evening. Slightly with the wind going with him as it's a high snap, and he's going to keep this and try and get his skates on. He's got space as well on the left side. He's going to pick up a fresh set of downs, just about doing enough to get the first down. It depends where they mark him out of bounds. This is going to be really interesting, and in fact the officials are saying he's well short by about 3 or 4 yards. It looked like he had the determination and the space to be able to pick that up, but the officials have seen that leg come out of bounds early.
Ever seen a punter with speed like this? Didn't have any option again. He did well to snag that football, and there he goes, tucks the ball, maybe the wrong arm, tries to turn the corner, and for a moment you think he's going to get there, but just pressure coming in. Good angle chosen by the defender just to clip him out of bounds short of that first down. But wow, what athleticism from a punter of all positions. But punters are players too.
Punters are players too, and not only that, he does play on that defensive side of the ball as well, and can certainly get involved pretty much anyway as an absolute stellar athlete as he lines up back in the safety position once again to defend territory against this Durham Saints offense. who are now stacked up nicely at the 42-yard line in Bullets' half. .2:43 to go in this second quarter. Candido has time. No need to run, but he does anyway, and then throws it incomplete. Can't find Cameron Lee. Another good opportunity as Lee just sitting in that space in the centre of the field. Candido given a lot of time for one of the first times, really, to be able to make something happen. Nothing did. 2nd and 10. That Durham defence has given the offence a huge opportunity. Candido able to get it, finds his man over the middle. Lee this time able to collect. Stopped at about the 30-yard line, but not before he gets the first down and gets thumped down to the ground, as well as he and Franklin Jr. exchange pleasantries, shall we say. Ball spotted on the 27-yard line for the Saints. Candido running back alongside him. Steps again, he's got time, again he's got a man down the middle, and they're finding that seam as it's brought in by Ricky Eng, who hobbles away after the heroics. Knew the shot was coming as well, Eng, but he made sure he got his hands on the ball, brought that one in, and gets the first down for Durham.
You mentioned earlier, Ollie, about that 4th down.
That is the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes exactly left in the first half.
Yeah, that 4th down being a big play. This could be equally a big play. 2 minutes left, that's a beautifully weighted ball on a rope to his receiver. Does well to hang on to that and then jumps up and realises, oh, that doesn't feel right. But first down, Durham. And if they can score here, remember, UWE won the toss. They elected to defer, so they get the kickoff in the second half. So a score here for Durham will be huge.
Into the 2-minute warning then. 2 minutes to go, 3 timeouts remaining. Durham again have the rain coming down, blasting into their faces as they set up once more inside the red zone with great field position. 1st and goal coming up here for the Saints. Candido's had time on the last few dropbacks to sit and pick out his target. He's got time again as he steps up, now sees space up the centre, and Candido's going to walk in. First touchdown of the National Championship game goes to the number 10, Nico Candido, and Durham Saints are on the board to get the party started here in Loughborough.
And we talked about momentum, and that drive, you mentioned it, Ollie, about the fact he'd had time, and even on that play there was no pressure coming from either side of the offensive line. We'll have a look at the kick first, and then we'll check that replay just to give those boys up front a little bit of credit. Here's the PAT attempt.
Sparks the holder, Crane the kicker, and it's a better hold, it's a better kick, and it is good through the upright. 7 on the board then for Durham Saints. There will be a beaming smile somewhere on the face of Danny Ketch, and he's seen his star quarterback come to the forefront.
So here it is. There was no pressure to start with, and then number 10, we've mentioned him all night, Loxley Burke Jr. for the Bullets, forced Candido up the middle, and he just had daylight in front of him. Receivers did a good job taking their men downfield to the back of the end zone, turning the backs of the defenders against the runner play, so they couldn't see what was going on, and Candido goes in untouched for the opening score. 1:53 left in the first half here. 7-zip Saints.
3rd rushing touchdown of the season for Nico Candido. Danny Ketch, a man who is celebrating his 10th season with Durham in this programme. Is it year number 10, the decade that finally brings, I mean, Real Madrid always talked about La Decima of winning 10 titles, 10 years to finally get hands on a title once again in Durham would mean an awful lot for Danny Ketch and his team.
And he's committed so much of his life to football. I remember coaching against Danny Ketch when him and John Tate were in charge of the flag team up there, and I took my Nottingham Caesars up there as a great return on the ensuing kickoff all the way back close to the 40-yard line. But yeah, it'll mean the world to Danny Ketch and everything that he's done on his journey through the ranks of British American football to this point, this national championship game. And at the moment, with just about 1:44 left in the second half, he can just about see half a hand on that trophy, but so much football still to go.
There's a long way to go in this ball game, particularly as the Bullets won't go away without a fight here tonight. 1:44 to go. A penny for the thoughts of Daniel Mayer. As Gretzinger again escaping the rush. Now a little pitch over the centre, but you want to talk about hospital passes. The big hit coming in from Brennan Pagan, the tailback, happy to help out on both sides of the ball, and a super shot as well to slow down the Bullets before they get moving.
Well, it doesn't really pick up anything. Did Gretzinger to escape the pressure again, and then took off almost like a Michael Jordan jump shot, just trying to pitch that to anybody he could get the rock to. And his running back kind of went, "Oh, thanks very much, mate," as he felt the punishment from Page. There it is.
Ball falling incomplete from Gretzinger that brings up third down now. 3rd and 12 for the Bullets. Suddenly sees them backed up, staring down a deficit, staring down a big 12 yards to keep this drive going. And again, we've talked about it, just doesn't seem like Gretzinger that we've seen in the past before. Those sorts of passes, that unnecessary pitch to not only get himself but others in trouble as well.
Listen to that Saints sideline.
Gretzinger again rushed and hurried immediately, gets back to his feet and does very well indeed, and finds his intended target, Clark, who's got space and daylight until he's forced out of bounds, just coming in on the tackle, Jalen Wood, to make sure that that doesn't go to the house. But a huge pickup through the air. Gretzinger standing strong, finding his target and letting the skill positions make things happen to get into enemy territory and suddenly keep this drive alive.
Man, oh man, you talk about lighting the blue touch paper. That touchdown from the Saints almost seems to have just sparked life. And you talked about Gretzinger not necessarily looking like he did, but to escape that pressure, then keep his eyes downfield and hit his man. He's doing the same again here. He's rolling back to his left. Now tucks the ball to run, heading towards the sideline, and another positive pickup. And maybe that touchdown by the Saints was the spark these Bullets needed.
It's certainly the kick in the behind that seems to be working for Ethan Gretzinger. Perhaps he just likes to rally against something. He likes that chip on his shoulder and likes to push back when everybody thinks that the chips are down for him.
Yeah, here's that previous play. Pressure coming straight away. Does really well to get out of that. Look at his eyes downfield. Knows he's going to get hit. And he puts it on a rope to his receiver, who then has that yak.
Gretzinger will give the handoff to his tailback as they go to the ground game once again. Decent move initially by Brees to evade the first tackler as he tries to make a little bit of movement for himself to open up the space down the centre. It's very crowded though in the heart of that defence for the Saints. Gets enough for the first down, and the Bullets will keep this drive going.
Timeout. Offense. Second charge timeout. 28 seconds left.
So the Bullets taking another timeout with under half a minute remaining or so in this second quarter. That's an important 28 seconds as well in terms of stealing that momentum back that Durham will have felt. They'll have rolled right into their possession through that touchdown of Nico Candido, but the Bullets could have a quick reply. And there's nothing like a quick reply in American football to steal away that scoring feeling from your opposition.
Well, a few minutes ago I had a chat with our producer about highlights at the end of the first half, and the response I got was, well, there haven't really been many, but in this last 2 minutes or so we've seen a bucket load. So I think we're going to have a nice little highlights package before we go down to our halftime show. But I was also going to say, as 0-0 games go, it was a pretty entertaining one. But now, with one score, this game has just exploded into life.
It's all about stakes that create the tension, and the stakes couldn't be higher right now on this season for both the Durham Saints and the UWE Bullets. Gretzinger comes out on 1st and 10. Spread formation once again and broken up at the line of scrimmage. Great penetration off the edge once more for Derek Ilscholtz, who continues to be a game breaker for the Bullets offense during this first half.
Yeah, he's been the consistent threat from that defensive unit so far. Just when the Saints need a play, he's Johnny on the spot to make it count. 26 ticks left. Can the Bullets tie things up before the half?
Second down, 10 needed. Gretzinger rolling right straight away. Has to check back because there's nothing there. Able to stay on his feet, brought down just as he's getting almost back to that line of scrimmage, doing well to fight for an extra yard or so, but Gretzinger not seeing what he wanted on that roll out to the right and suddenly didn't really have a check down.
Offense.
Another timeout as well from the Bullets.
So you see that the Bullets have kind of established that they're getting a little bit of pressure, so they're trying to move that pocket and get Gretzinger out into space. He had a little bit of time to set his feet, but the coverage downfield was so tight he had nowhere to go. Therefore had to just try and make something of it. And once again, that quick to react defense shut the door on the Bullets quarterback. And Danny Mayer and the troops now try and talk things over with 15 seconds to go. Can they unlock this Saints defense?
Yeah, Josh Tucker deep in conversation with his defensive players down there for the Saints. His 10th year as well at Durham, 5th year as the DC, a national championship winner as a player. Back in 2016, playing linebacker. If there's something he doesn't know about the Durham defense, it certainly isn't worth knowing. But he needs to dial up something to make sure that the Bullets stay out once again. 3rd and long here for Gretzinger in the offense. Again, looking to roll to his favourite side, then has to turn back because of the pressure. Still keeping the play going. Open man down the field, brought in. Touchdown, UWE Bullets. And it is Ethan Gretzinger doing Ethan Gretzinger things, and he finds Sam East in the front of the end zone for a simple touchdown. The man who's been so productive all season for this Bullets offense. And they're on the board with 6 just before halftime.
I reckon he was listening to you earlier on when you were saying about, well, he doesn't look quite like the same Gretzinger. Somebody's got a message down to him and gone, hang on a minute, boys. The comms aren't impressed, and he's suddenly turned it on. Going for 2.
I'll say it was you. As Gretzinger gives the handoff on the 2-point conversion as the Bullets look to take the lead going into the half. And he's down just before the end zone. Great fight at the end there from Josh Brees, but just not enough to be able to stack that one over the line. Let's have a look at the touchdown again.
Yeah, here it is, moving that pocket once again. You got the protection from the running back, and initially they do very well to the Saints, but he keeps his eyes downfield, he keeps his feet moving, and he threads the needle. And a good off-script play again by the receiver to keep working and keep finding that space.
Nathaniel Castro frustrated with himself on the coverage, just beating his hand into the ground. With about 5 seconds to go here in the second quarter, Durham still have their noses in front after denying on the 2-point conversion, but the Bullets and the Saints have both finally found some momentum on offense and been able to find the end zone just before half-time.
Here it is again from the reverse camera angle. Look at him keep the play alive, eyes downfield, and then on the move to East, who's just settled at the back of the end zone, made his man miss. And we've got a right ball game now in this national championship final.
And they're looking for the onside kick as well, the Bullets. It's jumped on straight away though by the return team. Cameron Lee reading that very well. Not only that, a safe pair of hands in the air, but seemingly a safe pair of hands on special teams with the ball on the deck.
Now, how aggressive does Danny Ketch want to be?
Durham, first charge timeout.
I know if it's me, Ollie, I'm taking a knee, I'm getting back to the locker room, and I'm kind of going, right boys, let's take stock.
It's not a night tonight, as some of the advertising hoardings once again threatening to be blown off and away here at Loughborough University. It's not really a night for taking those deep shots.
I don't know about the advertising hoardings. I'm a bit worried about Tash being down there at half-time. We could see her sail into the Loughborough night sky.
I think we've got a decent enough insurance policy. It's all fine. She'll be okay, or someone will be afterwards. It'll be all right. Ball at the 46-yard line. What did Durham fancy with about 5 seconds to go? Candido takes the snap. Drops back. There's a free run on him as well. He is going to go looking long, looking deep for the big shot downfield, and it's going to fall incomplete. 2 in on the coverage, just keeping an eye on Marcus Libman. Just for a second though, you thought that was going to escape over the UWE Bullets defensive heads.
So yeah, Ketch feeling very aggressive then. Moving that pocket to the right, gets time, heaves it downfield, and who's there to break up the pass? It's the punter.
Punter by name, punter very much not just by reputation. Marleshon Franklin Jr. able to break up the deep ball, the deep shot, as Durham look to add to their advantage before half-time. But as we move into the final 2 quarters of the National Championship game, it's as nail-a-biter as we were expecting. The Durham Saints 7, the UWE Bullets 6. Both touchdowns coming towards the end of a difficult half for both offences. But they finally, like Stella, got their groove back. And we do have points on the board here at Loughborough. Half-time in the National Championship game. Durham Saints 7, UWE Bullets 6. Let's have a look at the touchdowns then from that first half. Nico Candido growing in confidence as that half wore on, made some great plays with his arm, but it was his legs that got Durham over the line to get the first score on the board. Just sees that avenue open up. As soon as he gets past the first line of defenders, there was nothing that was going to stop him from getting into the end zone. But Ethan Gretzinger, a man that you just cannot keep down, not for 2 quarters at least, because his ability to stay poised in a pocket as it's collapsing, the reason as well he's able to make that, he's able to get back onto that right side, going left to right, so the momentum is with him to make that throw. It's an easy collection in the end for Sam East, who just had to keep his eyes on the ball and make sure he brought that one in. The coverage difficult for the Durham Saints, but Gretzinger, as we said, very much doing Gretzinger things to keep this play alive and keep UWE right in the fight going in at half-time. A wonderful throw from the quarterback. And after both of these offences stalled for large periods, there's 2 offences that have certainly found a way at the end of that first half to be able to get points on the board. We're expecting plenty of points coming up in September as well when the NCAA football comes to Wembley. The Union Jack Classic powering touchdown Tuesday here in Loughborough. This is what you can expect come September.
This is more than a game. It's tradition. It's families. It's generations. It's pure tribalism. It's excitement like you've never experienced. Wembley Stadium 2026. Big moments, big hits, big stakes. Kansas versus Arizona State. Reserve your seats today. Tickets going fast. UnionJackClassic.com.
Subway knows a good shawarma is what the people want. So how about one on freshly baked bread with traditionally spiced chicken and of course your fave fresh salad, all topped off with a garlicky minty yogurty sauce. Well, it's just landed, the new shawarma spiced chicken, now at Subway.
Packing a punch in attack. Here's into the post. Sample tiptoeing on the touchline. But there is so much space here for Oscar Wilson to bury Loughborough Rugby Parade, the dream of the Super Rugby Milk Championship. If you want the drama, if you want history, well, right here, the BUCS stops here.
Everybody stand up, come together.
half-time here at Touchdown Tuesday in Loughborough, powered by Union Jack Classic. And unfortunately, we've come down here and apparently the rain has decided to also come onto the field, which is not wonderful because it was clear for a bit, wasn't it, for the teams? Just a bit of wind.
Our cameraman has literally just said, as you walked onto the field, us two, it is literally the heavens are open again. He's nodding there behind, but hey, it's cold here, but the game's really heated up, Tash.
It is. So we're at the half, and it is currently 7-6 to Durham. What an end to that game from UWE. We'll talk a little bit about Durham first. So they started with the ball they received, and their quarterback came out. So that is Nico Candido, came out absolutely storming. I've written down here, dominant start to the game. How did Durham come out and have such dominant start,
Well,
Matt?
they controlled the offense, they controlled the ball, they mixed it up. You'd think in these conditions they'd just stick with the ground game, but no, they went to the air, they kept the Bullets guessing, and they established that offense, drove down the field, took momentum, started to get that defense on their heels, and before you knew it, you were thinking, well, they're going to punch it in here, but no, the Bullets had something to say about that.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing. The Bullets managed to stop them every time until Nico Candido at the quarterback managed to run it in for the first touchdown. And that was a great touchdown, wasn't it?
It really was. And I mentioned it on commentary, you know, it was an entertaining 0-0 till that point. But it almost needed that. And the offensive line, got to give that offensive line credit, particularly the guys on the outside, the two tackles, left, right tackle there. They pushed those defenders round the back of the quarterback to give the opportunity for Candido then to go straight up the middle. Receivers, as I mentioned again, kept those DBs. You're taught to take your DBs to the back of the end zone, keep their backs to the quarterback so they can't see what's happening. And Candido ran in untouched for the opening score.
And we've got to give a shout out to Chance Sparks, who got that pick. Number 8, Chance Sparks, there with the pick for Durham. That was a great moment, wasn't it?
Unbelievable. We mentioned he's a graduate of a university from the States, you know, and all that university experience showed there. Not only to catch the ball, but to concentrate. He bobbled it to begin with. I think almost would have taken him by surprise because there was no receiver in the area. That ball sailed on Gretzinger. And you know, and the DB was like, hey, hello a minute, this ball's coming to me. Snagged it with one hand, controlled it all the way to the ground, and that was a big momentum shift, which then led to that opening score.
And it has been a difficult game, and this is not just for Durham, but for both teams, right? Because when you look at the conditions we're playing in, I mean, we're stood here right now, you can see the wind, you can see, well, we can feel the rain. You can't really see the rain, but you can see the conditions that they're playing in right now. It's not great for a ball game, and that's the reason why we're seeing a 7-6 scoreline right now, isn't it?
I think it is, but equally, you know, you kind of expect a game like this to be sticking up your jumper, you know, run inside the tackles, try and just keep that ground game pounding, get your fullbacks involved maybe. You know, not a lot of teams run fullbacks in particular, we're not seeing much of it today. But they haven't, they've kept each defence honest, they've gone to the air, they've been successful through the air. And actually we saw after that touchdown from Candido, it really ignited that Bullets offence. And Gretzinger actually showed the quarterback he is. And the key to that, making plays, evading defenders, keeping his eyes downfield, and then using that arm talent to hit his receivers.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about UWE, we look at their offensive coordinator, Jadrian Clark. The last time these two teams met, Jadrian Clark was actually the quarterback leading the players rather than leading that offense from the sideline. Do you think that's made a big help in terms of he understands how Durham want to play?
Yeah, 100%. Anytime you can make the transition from a player to a coach, you've got that inside knowledge, and particularly when it's been so recent for him, you know, he understands how that works. He understands there were players actually out there that played with him, so he'll understand all the cogs and the pieces that make that machine work. And as we mentioned about UWE was struggling because there was pressure coming on Gretzinger. So what did Clark do? He starts to move the pocket. He starts to get Gretzinger to roll out to try and elude that pressure. And then it just comes about Gretzinger using that talent he's got with his arms, his legs, and we saw that on their touchdown.
Yeah, especially with the touchdown, as you say, there was a big scramble for him to actually get the ball out, and it ended up going to Sam East, their number 20. That was a great touchdown right at the end and exactly when they needed it, wasn't it? A massive momentum shift coming in, and they're receiving the ball.
Yeah, you're quite right. They won the toss, they elected to defer. You thought when the Saints scored, you kind of thought momentum there, but now going into the half with that score from the Bullets, and you saw how aggressive the Bullets were again. They weren't wanting to just go for one and tie it up, they went for 2 points. Unfortunately didn't get it, down by 1. And then you kind of think, right, onside kick, so the Saints have got it inside Bullets territory. What's Danny Ketch going to do?
go for it.
Absolutely.
Apparently.
And even in these conditions now, he still went for that sort of Hail Mary downfield to try and wrestle that advantage back going into the half.
So what do you want to see from both teams in the second half, and who do you think is going to take this?
Genuinely, just more of the same, because you've got to give credit to both offences, both defences, the offensive coordinators, the coaching staff, trying to come up with plays in really, like you said, almost for Great Britain, hurricane conditions. You know, it's not easy to run the ball. It's even more difficult to throw the ball. Which way is it going? It's going to go down to the team that make the least amount of errors and can nail the penalties. There's been a lot of penalties. So whichever team can make the least amount of errors, reduce the number of penalties, and actually maybe just get one more score, that's going to be the difference as we get absolutely pelted again, Tash.
So, no definite winner from Matt Walker there. But what I can say is the second half of Touchdown Tuesday, the finale is coming. This is powered by Union Jack Classic. Let's see what you've got to look forward to in September.
This is more than a game. It's tradition. It's families. It's generations. It's pure tribalism. It's excitement like you've never experienced. Wembley Stadium 2026. Big moments, big hits, big stakes. Kansas versus Arizona State. Reserve your seats today. Tickets going fast. UnionJackClassic.com.
Proud to be supporting the Milk Every Moment campaign, highlighting the nutritional value of milk and how it can support students in their sporting performance.
To showcase how milk's nutritional values can support student athletes in prep for their event or with recovery.
We're here today to promote some nutritional benefits of milk. You want to have 5 shots to try and hook a vitamin or a mineral.
I hit phosphorus.
And phosphorus is used for the maintenance of bones and teeth.
Winners of the BUCS Super Rugby Milk Championship.
Subway knows a good shawarma is what the people want. So how about one on freshly baked bread with traditionally spiced chicken and of course your fave fresh salad, all topped off with a garlicky minty yogurty sauce. Well, it's just landed, the new shawarma spiced chicken, now at Subway.
Packing a punch in attack. He's under the post. Sample Bree tiptoeing on the touchline. But there is so much space here for Oscar Wilson to bury left for a rugby parade. The dream of the Super Rugby Milk Championship. If you want the drama, if you want history, well, right here, the BUCS stops here.
Everybody stand up, come together. Now it's time to let
Man like Kenny in the summer, don't act like a bummer. Got him moving through the night time, and she's sour like a right line. And she mighty fine, so let's move it. And we get it two-stepping like we three-footed. Got me feeling like I'm in my new prime. Let's get it all right, all right. I just wanna have some fun, I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun, have some fun, have some fun tonight. Like a venom, got me rocking out denim. Got her moving through the night time, like it's the only one we gonna find. I just wanna have some fun, I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun, I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun, I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun, have some fun, have some fun tonight.
American college football invades London. University of Kansas Jayhawks, Arizona State Sun Devils. Two powerhouse teams face off at Wembley Stadium in the Union Jack Classic on Saturday, 19th of September 2026.
Yeah, get your tickets for the Union Jack Classic coming up in September. The fuel that is powering touchdown Tuesday under the lights as we move from day very much into night here in Loughborough. The lights are on and plenty are home as well, and there is still plenty to be decided, both for the Durham Saints and the UWE Bullets. As you see Danny Ketch there, who will be a man, Matt, who will be very happy, I imagine, with how a large part of that first half has played out. There is a bit of a kick in the teeth, though, with that late score for the Bullets. So there's just, again, maybe change the equation slightly and give it a bit of momentum back to the side in black going in at half-time.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ollie. I think with 1 minute 53 left in the first half and the Saints just scoring and had a long drive and wrestled that momentum back, I think you're right. Danny Ketch will have been the happy of the two coaches. But seeing his response, Danny Mayer there, seeing his response from the Bullets in that final minute and a few ticks, well, like you said, this game is now back wide open once again.
Alishon Franklin Jr. and Josh Brees back to return the opening kickoff of the half. The Bullets will take the ball and look to try and take the lead to start quarter number 3 in the national title game as they go in search of national title number 6. Daniel Crane sends it downfield, although it's slightly off-kilter squib kick that will be down towards the 35-yard line and give pretty decent field position for the UWE Bullets. And it's going to be interesting to see exactly how Dan Mayer decides to use his star quarterback once again, who, when keeping the ball in his own hands and just being given that ability to express himself suddenly in the collapsing pocket, is exactly what led to that score in the end for the UWE Bullets. Does he decide to unshackle Ethan Gretzinger, or do we go back to the run game on this murky night in Loughborough? 1st and 10 for the Bullets to start this drive, and there is the handoff to the tailback as it's bounced off the right side of the line by Brees. Forced out of bounds, but not before a solid game with a pickup of around about 9 on the play. Interesting to see as well Brennan Pagan in there, who's continuing to fight as hard as he can from tailback and in that defense as well for the Durham Saints. There are always some in Uniball that have to play both ways, so to speak, and it's going to be a tough old slog tonight when the intensity is this high. 2nd and short coming up for Gretzinger as again they give the handoff to the running back Brees, and again he finds some room bursting through the offensive line and getting deep down into the 45-yard line of the Durham Saints and moving the ball on the ground with ease to start this third quarter.
We've seen Keon Smart in the first half, and now Josh Brees so patient when they first take the football. They're looking where those gaps are, and then they explode through. And then the Bullets now going with that no-huddle offense, trying to get the advantage back.
Give the ball to Brees once again looking for that seam up the middle, stalled before he can pick up more than maybe 4 yards on the play.
This one looks like it might be coming back.
Flags on the field, and we will hand over once again to Brian Yates for the call.
Holding. Number 68 on the offense. Still first down.
And it's those silly penalties like that again that will continue to frustrate the coaches on the sideline.
So I was asked at half-time, Ollie, which way I think this one was going. You didn't get an opportunity to be involved with that. You stood there shaking your head. I don't think I'm going to get an answer. It's
very neutral.
First and long.
Fear I've woken up the beast of Ethan Gretzinger already in this game. First and 20 then, as flags fly again before the snap.
Looked like that time some of the yardage is going to be coming back, possibly against the defensive line of the Saints. They jumped on the hard count. Everyone's pointing at each other though.
I love how childish it gets down there in the trenches. You went, no you went, no you went. He says. The deliberation that's the most key taking place between the officials. I think the indication is it's going to be on the Saints.
Offside. Causing a reaction foul. Defense. Arrange first down.
Still first down. We've had 15 yards of movement in penalties already.
10 yards back, 5 yards forward, first and 15.
Singer just checking with the officials before getting underway, taking the snap, keeps the ball in his hands, throws on the slant inside, and it's going to fall incomplete as Chance Sparks was perhaps eyeing another interception as it bounced off the hands of Sam East.
You could almost see Sparks' eyes light up there as he was running towards us. That greasy football slips off the hands of the intended receiver. Going with the play action again, the Bullets just trying to hold those linebackers, make them step up, create a little bit of space behind them for him to fit that slant into, but that time just off the mark.
Doesn't get a chunk back, however, so it's 2nd and 15 now for the Bullets. This time they do go on the ground, and there is no crease to be found. 3 yards maybe on the shove up the middle. These hard yards are very much difficult to come by. Keon Smart this time in at the tailback position. Interesting how Smart and Brees, they certainly don't seem to feel like they lose anything in just dovetailing those two, giving them both ample time and the option to control the ball, control possession, and each of them getting a rest on those sidelines as well, so they can come out nice and fresh. And they need something fresh and something fast here on 3rd and 13. Do the Bullets. Gretzinger just gives it on the screen pass out to his receiver on the bubble out of the left flats, and that's again knocked down at the line of scrimmage, brought in by Jamad Clark, but no gain on the play, and 4th and long arrives for the Bullets.
Great play by Rory Humphries there. Those open field tackles really difficult, particularly when you're coming at speed. First time we've seen motion really from the Bullets tonight, trying to get that receiver out in the flats, give himself a head start while he's in motion, catching the ball on the run. But to say, number 33, safety Rory Humphries for the Saints was equal to it.
Your favourite player of the night, I think, Marlon Franklin Jr. into punt.
Boy can do everything.
There's no doubt that this one was going to be a punt with the ball stacked up around about midfield. Again, it's another awkward snap for the punter that's sent down off his boot up towards the 20-yard line, collected and going to be brought back by Ricky Yang, who again just can't find a gap and an avenue, able to avoid the worst of the contact, however.
What I've noticed as well on all the special team kicking plays, the punts, the kickoffs, those UWE Bullets, the lane discipline is really, really good. You don't have people coming out of their particular assignments. It's really important, therefore, to keep that across the width of the field so that there's no gaps available for the returners, and the Bullets are very disciplined in that.
Special teams builds special players, but in a game like this as well, it helps to win, as we touched on earlier in this game, that field position battle as well, that sees the Durham Saints looking at 79 yards to go to the house, to go to the distance and get 6 points on the board. Candido just gives it to his tailback. Pagan bursting forward, and he did find that little run underneath the tackles, almost ducking that head down as low as possible and falling forward for a decent pickup on first down, 2nd and 2.
Hey, that's a great drive starter right there. You talk about trying to stay ahead of the chains, and when you can pick up 7-8 yards on first down, then that opens up the playbook completely for you.
Over 340 yards on the ground in the season, but 21 tackles and 7 for a loss as well. Just to get on the defensive side of the ball in statistics. Candido trying to keep that one rather than giving the pitch, and maybe not the best idea as he falls forward and tries to claim that he's got enough for the first down. And it's 3rd and short instead for the Saints.
Yeah, they set up looking like they were going to run that option again with Brennan Pagan running outside Candido. Candido thought he saw enough of a gap to try and pick up the first down in himself, and just ended up coming up short.
Ricky Eng in the slot to the left. Castro wide out on that left side of Candido. Pagan still in the backfield. 3rd and short. And they'll go through the air to try and pick it up. An easy catch from Libman as well, who's going to get 3-4 yards on the play. It's easily comfortable enough to get the first down as well. That keeps the drive going for Durham. That's all they needed to do, just make sure they sustain the offense out there on the field rather than having to walk off early.
And that's really nicely done. Candido saw that the DB was playing off coverage, knew he only needed a yard, and his receiver Marcus Libman just 2 or 3 yards, foot in the ground, easy completion.
Candido takes the snap on 1st and 10. Again goes looking for Libman, who's able to have a bit more room this time, and blockers in front of him as well. Pick up of maybe 11 on the play, forced out of bounds, but another first down coming from the Durham Saints wide receiver.
They go back to the well, the same play twice in succession. Candido and Libman saw that off coverage once again, play action, little fake, enough to hold the linebackers. And a good pickup, picks up nearly 13-14 yards on first down.
Alonga Esme coming in, that big body on the offensive line, just wheeling out to the right and enjoying getting in people's faces to support the blocking effort. 1st and 10 again for Durham. Candido again looking through the air, has inside routes to his left or a deep shot down the right, finding his man, brought in, superb catch adjustment from Marcus Lippman. First down and then some, and a huge play early on in this 3rd quarter for the Durham Saints.
Hat-trick. Libman. 2 on the short, but look at the protection here. Just look at the time that Candido gets, manages to step up into the pocket. We've seen a number of times that he's been thrown under pressure with people on his case, but this time the offensive line creates that perfect pocket, manages to let him step up, and look at this.
Deep inside the red zone, Candido fakes the handoff and then is going to get brought down behind the line of scrimmage. Quickly in his face there, Loxley Burke Jr., the linebacker, as the Bullets having enough of Candido's progress downfield and deciding to bring some extra pressure.
Where were they going again? Looking to go to the well one more time that time, but that pressure comes straight up the middle. Here's the big deep ball. You could see how much space he'd got. You could see Candido from our back camera position in the end zone, and a great adjustment by Libman to haul that one in.
Not easy when you're backpedaling and trying to keep your eyes on the ball, hands doing what they need to do, and the wind is blowing around Loughborough. 2nd and 12 after the loss of 2 on the first play as Candido rolls out to his left. He's got black shirts swarming around him and has to just fall forward and try and get back as much as he could. Again, Loxley Burke in on the eventual tackle around the ankles of the quarterback.
Yeah, sometimes as an offensive lineman, there's only so much you can do, and then you kind of just find yourself stood there watching your quarterback as the oncoming pass rush gets beyond you, and you kind of sort of, oh, I wish I could help more, but I really can't. And Candido does well there to try and get as much of that yardage back. Brings up 3rd down and long.
It's a real long way as well. I think 13 is generous, to say the least, right now. Candido. 3 receivers to his right. Pagan the tailback alongside him. Candido rolls, checks back inside, able to keep his hands and his head up, but throws incomplete. Once again, looking for Libman just on the inside. That seemed to be a play that was collapsing all around the Durham Saints quarterback, and now there's the decision of keep the offense out or try and kick the points through the uprights and just add to your advantage and make it a 4-point ball game.
You mentioned earlier on about obviously how the amount of field, you get into the red zone, you kind of think the advantage with the offense, but often the advantage is with the defense because those spaces really shorten. And on that last play, all the defenders, you didn't have any defender any further back than sort of 7 yards from the line of scrimmage, really condensing those areas.
4th and long then for the Saints. Candido takes the snap. It's all or nothing here, and he's going to look for it all as he finds Libman on the right sideline, but I don't think it's going to be enough for a first down. Stopped shy of the marker by about 3 yards or so. And a big turnover on downs for the UWE Bullets defence as the connection of Candido and Libman used time and time again on this drive, but this time it's about 3 yards short.
And obviously the Saints are going to be disappointed. They've had a long drive, they've got down to within the 10-yard line and they've stalled. But at the same time, that pass has been effective because it's even pushed them further back. So now you're forcing this UWE offense to sort of march 90 yards themselves. So a positive play on 4th down, even though it came up with no points.
Yeah, Gretzinger won't exactly enjoy having those posts right up behind him as he gives the handoff to his running back, and there's a open lane over on that left side of the line, and that's certainly one that Keon Smart will be happy to take as quickly as possible. The man from Colby College in the United States, rushing yards leader, rushing touchdown leader for the season. Normally plays wearing the number 2. That was what we were expecting this evening, but jersey swap. Maybe a bit of trickery, as I say, with the roster from Dan Mayer. So they give the handoff once again to the running back. At least there's a bit more separation now with a 2nd and 4 and now 3rd and possibly 3 coming up for the Bullets offense. But it's still a 3rd down that they would want to complete because they're still backed up deep inside their own territory.
Yeah, it's another big play up coming from the Bullets because, as you've mentioned, if they do stall here and they kick the ball back to the Saints, we could be looking at being in pretty good field position. But we saw last time out Franklin Jr. with a really good kick and a very generous UWE roll.
Gretzinger goes again, gives it to his running back. Again, there's that room, perfect crease, lovely juke inside as well. And suddenly this one could be going all the way as Josh Brees is able to find that momentum and that room and takes himself out of bounds at the 35-yard line. Huge pickup on the ground. He's had a couple of those today, Josh Brees, when he finds an avenue, he finds that lane, he's going to keep those legs driving all the way to daylight.
And just like that, field position is flipped. Look how patient he is once again. Starts to the right, to the left, then cuts back to the right, makes a man miss, and then turns on the afterburners. And look at that picture, 5 Saints chasing him down. Got a blocker out front as well. Great job once again by Keon Smart. And that two-headed monster in the backfield paying dividends in the 3rd quarter.
Brees goes again up the middle. Short gain of a couple on the play. Keep him out there, doesn't get a breather after that big burst, doesn't get to trade time with Keon Smart, although you probably have to drag him off after that big gain as well. Might feel that the blocking is in his favour, and he stays out there once again along with Gretzinger in the offense, moving out into the wide out position as Smart comes in as the tailback and the rain continues to come down. Gretzinger going through the air, ball tipped at the line of scrimmage, falls incomplete. Plenty of hands up in the face of Gretzinger. Once again, Chance Sparks very happy with the eventual outcome of that.
As you've mentioned, the rain pelting down once again. And a 7-6 1-point lead all of a sudden becomes more and more advantageous as the rain comes down and the night draws on. Can the Saints make this drive stall? 3rd and 9.
Smart once again as the tailback. They send a man in motion, give it to Smart, who finds that gap off the left edge and is able to pick up a fresh set of downs. Stop right at that 1st down marker, but I think they're going to spot him past the chain gang, who will get moving once again.
It's a little bit like pick your poison, isn't it? With Smart out there, Brees out there. You've obviously got Gretzinger, who you know is dangerous not only with his arm but his feet as well.
I think that's the trouble for anybody trying to take on this UWE Bullets offense, is that you have to pick up so many men on the ground, it's almost you forget about the aerial attack that Gretzinger can suddenly make happen. That's a lovely step by Brees in the hole to just try and keep his legs going once again and pick up a decent gain of around about 5 on the play, possibly even 6 or more. Again, it's that first step that's suddenly going the Bullets' way for their tailbacks. And they look like it's going to be shut down at the line of scrimmage. They're just finding that bounce at the moment. 2nd and 5 after the pickup of 5. Gretzinger once again with the handoff. Brees is going nowhere that time though. You can step all you want, but you're not going to escape the clutches of that defensive line. Gavin Tatum in on the tackle.
Zach McMinn as well. We finally discovered who number 55 was at half time, thanks to some great investigative work by yourself, Ollie. But Zach McMinn, number 55.
I will not take any of that, thank you very much. There were some very helpful people up here in the commentary booth that were happy to give a handout with that. 3rd and 6, excuse me, for the Bullets here. Gretzinger just looking over to his sideline, trying to get that call in.
Got to be thinking run with the conditions now. And the Bullets take a timeout to talk it over.
You can hear the hooting and hollering coming from the Durham Saints sideline. They know that just even rattling Gretzinger and that offensive communication with he and his coaches is still going to feel like a win, particularly in this sort of position. Anything to disrupt the momentum right now. The Bullets offense that has once again on the ground started to move it in chunks, but is slowing up the deeper they get into the Saints territory. Story of the night really. Both of these offenses every so often have been able to find big plays to get in positive positions, but it's those last 15 to 25 yards that are by far the hardest to get tonight.
Absolutely, and that's why big plays sometimes pay such dividends, because you've not got the defenders between yourself and the goal line. But all of a sudden, when you set up on 1st down and whatever, from the 20 and within, you've got 11 defenders within 20 yards. And you've got to scheme really well against those defenders, particularly when they're of the calibre of these Saints. Just to make another point here, Ollie, you've done really well all night not to actually go outside. Now, if this conditions stay like this, there's only one person going to be doing a post-game show.
Tash.
Yeah, it's not going to be me. We're even getting wet inside. Sorry, Ollie.
3rd and 6. On a big 3rd down for Gretzinger and the offense, able to get the handoff just about. That's a lovely, again, step inside the hole, but it's going to be 2 yards shy of the 1st down marker as Smart is brought down far too early for the Bullets' liking. Wonder how many of the Arizona State Sun Devils players have to deal with these sorts of conditions as the finale of Touchdown Tuesday, powered by the Union Jack Classic, gives a perfect view of what Brit Ball quite often is so much about.
Would they even know what a cloud looked like out there in Arizona?
Every so often it sweeps across. I've seen it at the Waste Management. 4th down and 4 coming up for Gretzinger and the offense. Again,
Big
they hit
play.
the ground game. It's a huge push up the centre once more. There's going to be a couple of extra pints handed out to those offensive linemen today if the Bullets can keep this drive going and get their noses in front, because Keon Smart happy to be ploughing into the back of all of them to surge forward and pick up the 1st down.
This could be big. Smart remains down at the end of the play, and that's the end of the 3rd quarter as well.
I think it's one of the linemen. Smart just on the left-hand side of the screen there. It's one of those big burly bodies on the Bullets offensive line that I think is down at the moment on the floor. And that could be even bigger, because that doesn't just affect one part of the run game, it affects both of the tailbacks in terms of Smart and Josh Brees.
Well, that 3rd quarter's flown by, Ollie. Still 7-6 as it was at the half, but absolutely flown by. A little bit more of an emphasis on the ground game. You can understand that, particularly with the current conditions, but we saw that big ball through the air from Candido to Evans, to Libert, rather. And as we wish that Bullets player all the very best as they attend to him, I have seen the referee sort of signal a couple of times for the end of the 3rd quarter, but nothing official yet, as Brian Yates looks on. Hey, fair play to these fans as well.
Yeah, that's sticking it out literally through thick and thin, really. It is the thickest of rain that we've had so far as the Bullets have their offensive lineman back up on their feet. Braden Bice is the one who is walking a little gingerly over to that sideline, but walking thankfully without any extra help, which is always a great sight to see.
My eyes didn't deceive me. I did see a 9, but I didn't see the 5 before it. But good to see Bryce back on his feet.
Easily done in the plethora of bodies. 1st and 10 now for the Bullets. keep this drive alive and then get another set of downs before getting into first and goal situation. And that is the end of the third quarter. Well, it's as we started in this second half of the National Championship game, and it's another one that feels like it's going down to the wire today on Touchdown Tuesday. 7-6. The Durham Saints lead the UWE Bullets here in our grand finale for Touchdown Tuesday that is powered by the Union Jack Classic coming to Wembley in September.
This is more than a game. It's tradition. It's families. It's generations. It's pure tribalism. It's excitement like you've never experienced. Wembley Stadium 2026. Big moments, big hits, big stakes. Kansas versus Arizona State. Reserve your seats today. Tickets going fast. UnionJackClassic.com.
Remember to scan that QR code, UnionJackClassic.com as well. Tickets, as you can see, in high demand as we get the fourth quarter underway. The UWE Bullets trying to finish off a drive that has seen them rock down towards the red zone here and in Durham Saints territory. Can they finish finally in this second half with a touchdown? Yet to have a score in that third quarter, and Smart with the carry again, picking up a decent gain of maybe 3.5, 4 yards on the play. Gretzinger setting up quickly here with the offense, with receivers close to the line on the left side, and that's the side they're going to use here with Smart, who's tripped up from behind. It's beautiful work from Brennan Pagan once again in on the tackle. We touched on the fact that he was a tackle for loss specialist of sorts, 7 on the season so far. That's another important one, even if it was more of a toe tap just to make sure he brought the tail back down.
Remember, this drive started all the way back around the 10-yard line of the Bullets. That big run by Josh Brees towards the end of the third quarter puts them into the position they're in now.
Timeout. UWE.
The Bullets taking a time out then to discuss things. They feel this could be massively important because we might not get another score in this game considering the way it's been going so far in this one. Finishing drives is at a premium, and at this stage in the fourth quarter it's imperative that some points come out of this. Both of these offenses have come unstuck where it's mattered most, and it's a big third down coming up that there is plenty to discuss about for Daniel Mayer and his coaching staff.
In the games that the Bullets won their last 4, they've won 42-12, 52-0, 34-27 and 28-21, but they've not ever had to play not only in conditions like this, but I believe against a defense like this.
Well, it's a defense that frustrated them earlier in the season, isn't it, with that really agonizing loss that Durham were able to hand to the Bullets earlier in the campaign. Honours even though in the regular season, and there's nothing to separate them on championship night. Gretzinger taking the snap, faking the pitch, diving back inside and forcing his way forward for a pickup that doesn't look like it's going to get him across the first down marker, and 4th down and 5 is on the horizon.
Another textbook open field tackle there by Brennan Pagan. Little shimmy from Gretzinger trying to put the defender off balance, but he squared his shoulders, kept low and took the quarterback down.
Just stepping in once again, Jamad Clark, who's been targeted on a few occasions, who moves into the slot position on the left side of the line. Quinton Vimmer as well, close to the tight end position on the left, with 3 receivers spread for Gretzinger on 4th and 3. Will he keep it in his hands? Will he hand it off? Well, he's going to keep it roll left. Now trying to escape the rush, and he's brought down. Gretzinger brought down behind the line of scrimmage by Pagan once again. I'm not a religious man, but I could certainly turn into a pagan after tonight's performance from the tailback come linebacker.
Wow. Pagan back-to-back big tackles, shutting down that drive, and it looked for all the will in the world like that was going to be a design QB run and then he pulled up, looked to pass, but the pressure was there again. Great downfield coverage in this condensed red zone, and there was nowhere for Gretzinger in the offense to go, and Pagan made him pay.
Bend, don't break. That's what these defenses are about right now. Bend, don't break. They have been bent, twisted and manipulated, but they still, time and time again, both for Durham and for UWE, are refusing to break. There's a handoff to Pagan, the tailback, with his helmet coming off. Sees him having to step out for a play. He's barely stepped off this field tonight. We've just got a player down as well, as it's Alan Gorasmi, who's just struggling to get up. This is the sack again on Gretzinger.
Yeah, look at this. So they start off to begin with. It looks like a designed run. Then he comes up to pass. Then he sees the pressure coming through. Nice block once again by Brees. But nobody can evade the oncoming punishment brought by Pagan.
Candido out of the gun. 3 receivers left. 2nd and 8. As the weather has just let up slightly for this Saints offensive drive. Candido up the middle, again breaking the first tackle and finding room off to his right. Brought down, but not before moving the chains as he gets up to around about the 40-yard line. Well, if in doubt, move it out with your legs. Candido is happy to take yards that are given to him by this UWE Bullets defence. It's not happened too often, but when he's seen those creases, he certainly made them pay.
And that one looked remarkably like a carbon copy of the touchdown he scored towards the end of the second quarter. Bullets defenders coming round the back of their pocket, and Candido stepping up, finding the seam and taking off for a first down.
Once again, they spread the receivers as it has been all night. Candido out of the gun. 1st and 10. Give the handoff. Pagan trying to make men miss, trying to dance around and find that gap from left to right and back inside. But well, in fact, it was Cameron Lee, in at the tailback position, giving Pagan a breather. Rightfully so. Although we've seen a lot of Lee as well, particularly on the offensive side of the ball in that wide out position, all coming in alongside Candido as well. The versatility is certainly there for the Durham Saints to be able to move personnel around and still get what they want. Not sure they wanted just a pickup of 2 on that, but 2nd and 8 as the Saints look to get to midfield. Candido keeps it in his hands, stands, hit as he throws, flinging it down that right sideline, and it can't be brought in. Tony Anderson seemed destined to come away with that. And he might want to hide his head in his hoodie, because on another night, that's an interception all day long.
Look at the way they try and figure this play action, then fake out, trying to get the linebacker's eyes out to the flats, then throwing off his back foot. Really, you can see how far that ball was underthrown when he wasn't able to step into that pass. And like you say, Tony Anderson, 9 times out of 10 will be taking that one back.
Instead, it's a let-off for Durham. 3rd and 8. And they get an opportunity to bring up the downs once again, and Candido does exactly that over the middle. That is going to absolutely kill the Bullets defense as escaping away from the tackles once again. Ricky Eng. Excellent second drive from the wide out up the centre of the field.
I'll tell you what, Candido shows such bravery to nearly be picked off the play before, to then standing back up in the pocket, standing strong, recognising that coverage again, that cover 2. You can see he's going to split the safeties, looks off to his left, then comes back to his right, and he sees his man down between the 2 safeties, hits him immediately, and then the strength of that receiver to just keep pounding and driving those legs to pick up an extra 5.
Franklin Jr. in on the tackle, but not before the first down is collected. Candido fakes the handoff, flings it out to his left side for Lee. Lee able to fall forward and keep those legs moving and brought down, but again, it's a first down for the Saints, who just upping the tempo again and finding some joy through the aerial attack, as once more the rain has just started to let off a bit. Something from the heavens perhaps shining down on the Saints when it comes to these weather conditions, and Candido and co looking to capitalise.
You've got to be impressed as well with Danny Ketch, his offensive coordinator, to not go away from the game plan, to not become one-dimensional in these conditions, to keep that defense honest, and for his receivers to be able to bring it in these balls in these really treacherous conditions.
It is a first down as the chains have finally moved. Candido falls backwards slightly from the snap, but throws over the centre, caught, touchdown! Marcus Libman's been threatening that all night, and he comes up with a big reception to get another score on the board and extend the Durham Saints advantage. And if anyone can, Candido can tonight, through the ground and through the air.
Well, again, you give Candido time and he can just dissect that coverage. Here we go, look at this again, look at the protection from the big guys up front. Nice snap. Just at head height, so he's in his field of vision, he can look down the field, he's got plenty of time, and he splits those safeties once again. Pay dirt for the Saints, and what was a 1-point lead, which looked almost insurmountable, now gets stretched out to a 7, potentially 8-point lead.
Extra point set up. It's not the greatest snap, but the hold was really good, and the kick is good as well from Daniel Crane. The Crane kick through the uprights, and the advantage very much now in the Durham Saints' favour. 14-6 they lead with 7:20 to go in the fourth quarter. And if the UWE Bullets are going to make it 6 championships in their history, they're going to need that big comeback to start soon.
Well, what happened the last time the Saints scored? The Bullets, it almost lit that spark underneath them, and they fired straight back in the final 2 minutes of the first half. Danny Ketch is going to be looking a lot more comfortable and feeling more comfortable. Here's that touchdown once again. So you can see, the nice thing is that Candido's head doesn't drop at all. Eyes downfield, and he makes that decision instantly. He's assessed the coverage beforehand. He knows he's got a man out there on a post. Libman's been so reliable all game long, and he takes another one for a big gain, and this time 6 at the end of it.
He sees Franklin Jr. step down, and that's what opens up that huge avenue in the back of the end zone to find Marcus Libman. It's a lonely, lonely figure there, Daniel Mayer, stuck in the wind and rain. This one is going to be brought back by Franklin Jr., who fields the kickoff for looking to get out to his left, brought down at the 21-yard line, though. Great coverage once again. That time Cameron Lee making special things happen on special teams to make sure it's a limited return, and to force the Bullets to once again have to drive more than just the majority of the field to pick up what is a huge touchdown if they can find this next one. That 2-point failed conversion as well for the Bullets just stands out even more suddenly with a 14-6 scoreline and an 8-point game.
It absolutely does, you're quite right. The wind seems to have abated a little bit. The rain, like you said, has stopped. So Gretzinger now or never with 7 minutes 14 remaining.
Gretzinger, flea flicker, steps up into the pocket. Incomplete. When looking for Wimmer, just sliding and watching his legs go out in front of him as he tried to come back to the ball that was just slightly off target from Gretzinger.
Delving deep into the bag of tricks here. Ball handed off, turns straight away. That classic flea flicker, has to step up. Good pressure, has an opportunity to hit a man, just puts him behind the intended receiver. I'm going against Quinton Wimmer.
Incomplete, 2nd and 10 then. Gretzinger, tight end in on the right side of the line. He will roll that way and stand once again, look to dish over the middle. It's another short ball from Gretzinger, maybe just slipping in his hands slightly as he went looking for Sam East, who had space, but again was coming back behind himself to try and collect that and having to stoop low. Difficult catches at the moment for the Bullets wideouts to try and make.
But the opportunities are there. That option of moving the pocket for Gretzinger and some good blocking inside, particularly that start time by Dion Musvanamoto, sealing the end and giving Gretzinger the opportunity to fire downfield without anybody in front of him.
Not now or never stakes, that's for sure. There's a lot of time left in this one with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, but seems important to at least get a fresh set of downs as Gretzinger rolls out to his right, throws that one away, hits as he threw, no flags in the backfield, and that one's incomplete. No chance for Wimmer that time to be able to even get hands on it. It was well away from Gretzinger's favourite receiver, and 4th down on the horizon, and the punt team out once again with Molashon Franklin Jr. Frustrating that for the Bullets. They had that quick response to the first Durham Saints touchdown. They don't have it in them this time with 7 to go in the fourth.
Now, if I'm Danny Ketch, if I'm head coach of this Durham Saints team, I've got an 8-point lead with 6 minutes 58-ish. Do I start getting all conservative? The answer to that is no. I've got my offense firing. I've got confidence from a quarterback. just keep with that game plan. Going to get decent field position as well.
Collected at midfield. Another good step from Ricky Yang, who is an absolute return specialist, as we've touched on. 2 punt returns for touchdowns this season, but no real way for him to get moving forward rather than more than a couple of yards, as at least he's down at the 48-yard line in Bullets territory for the Saints to set things up. It's interesting, you talk about Danny Ketch, and we spoke to him before the game, obviously, but I had a chance to speak to him earlier in the week and just asked him, what is the philosophy around this team? He says we surround ourselves with the right people and the right mentality, and that is the catalyst for growth and unity. And it was interesting in that sense, he never really mentioned the term football at all. He's talking about building these players as men and building a team, and the football almost is the byproduct of all of that, and it's a great philosophy that he's instilled on this Durham Saints team. And this could be a potential game-winning drive as they give the handoff. Candido trying to throw a bit of the Statue of Liberty fake into it as well, which is not often seen. You've got to go back a long time to the Boise State sort of Fiesta Bowl games to see the last time I saw that. Pagan with the run up the middle.
But you know what it does though? Even if you can just get one defender's eyes watching that arm coming through, that's one defender out of the play. So as much as it may well be dated sometimes, it's an effective, and it just goes to show you that even when the ball's gone, Candido can still impact the play.
Pick up of 2 on the play as well, so it worked at least a smidgen there with 2nd and 8. Candido look to the air this time, rolls out to his right, again keeping those eyes downfield, again trying to evade the tacklers as well as he picks up maybe an extra yard or so. Again falls forward, maybe just caught a little too high as well. On the back of his pads, Micah Bearer in on the tackle, one of those to bring down Candido.
Yeah, Candido will be saying, "Ref, was that anywhere near a horse collar tackle? Did he get me up high on those pads?" Let's have a look. Wow, that's not far away at all, actually. Lucky to get away with that one, in my opinion.
Akinegbu, the offender, required a bit of help as well from others to eventually slow down the Durham Saints QB. Candido sets up then on 3rd down. And again, they look to the air. Not being conservative with the clock, but Candido now will look to his legs once more, and he's racing perfectly for that pylon. It's going to be a really big call from the officials about where he went out of bounds. There's about 3 different spots being shown by the Zebra crew, and a flag down as well.
So this could be an illegal block, a block in the back, a hold, but it's going to be, I think, more than likely against the offense. So all that effort from Candido, and it was great. You see him reading the defense, looking to his right, then back to his left. Let's hear from referee Brian Yates.
Offside. Defense, 5-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
Really interesting that. So obviously they've deemed that Candido didn't get it anyway, so it's a 5-yard penalty instead that will make it a more manageable 3rd and 3 for the Durham Saints.
And there you go. All the coaching experience, playing experience I've had, and called 3 or 4 penalties on the same play, and it's the wrong one.
Thought you knew this game. 30 plus years in the business now. Hey, the best always come unstuck on these big nights. Candido, 3rd and 3. Needs to do the same again. Same chunk of yards will certainly work as well. He'll fling it instead to his wide out.
I love that
out of the
play.
slot position, brought in by Ricky Yang, who's able to reach forward as well and just ensure that they get the 1st down.
Love that play. For all the world, that defense is thinking run. 3rd and 3. And then what do? You rely on that consistent action, the sure hands of your receiver, little hitch play, 1st down. Clock continues to roll under nearly now 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's the big key suddenly that's staring the Bullets in the face. 4 minutes from a national championship slipping out of their grasps and falling to the Durham Saints. Candido on 1st and 10. Ball at the 32-yard line. Again, the number 10 taking the snap. Again, happy to use his legs and roll out to his right. And again, will just surge forward and happy to try and run through a few as well. Trying to take the head of Loxley Burke Jr. as he fell forward 10 on 10. And it was the Saints number 10 that came up 10 out of 10 that picks up a decent chunk of 8 on the play.
And for the first time tonight, Ollie, you can see this defense looking a little beleaguered. That 1st down that they just converted, or the 3rd down rather they just converted, it's almost knocked the wind out of their sails a little bit now.
3:20 And the clock ticking down here in the fourth quarter. They can smell it, they can sense it, the Saints, that tonight is their night under the lights in Loughborough. Candido, again, short pass, throws it into the ground. Libman has it at his feet, no more than that. It's almost a shame, really, that in terms of if you're a Durham Saints fan or player, you're looking at that and seeing, well, that's a short pass that should be into somebody's hands and should be at least caught to keep that clock moving more than anything else, because that's a free stoppage now for the Bullets.
Yeah, 100%. That's a lifeline for the Bullets. Gives an opportunity just to take stock. 3rd and 2. We thought it was going to be run last time. It's single coverage on the far side of the screen. You can see on the far far left rather of the screen. Now that press coverage steps up.
Candido rolling out to his right again, just looks for the quick dump off. Not sure his wideout was expecting it either. I think everybody thought it was Candido looking for it on his own and then decided to dump it at the last minute to Ricky Eng. And again, it's another stop of the clock, and it brings up 4th down and 4th and 2. And Candido is walking back to the centre of the field like he wants to keep this offence out there, and it's no surprise that they want to try and finish this drive off in the right way.
I'm going to make a bold statement. This right here is the ball game. Convert this 4th and 2, 3 minutes left. This is the ball game.
Certainly big if the Saints can get these 2 massive yards towards a national championship. Little pitch on the option to Pagan, who rumbles forward, and what an extra effort as well from the running back. Looked like he was going to be stopped just shy, but that second hop, that spring of the legs, and that last burst of energy might be the final burst of energy that gets Durham over the line tonight.
Again, there's the option. Looks to keep it, pitches it just at the right time, draws the defenders in, and then that low centre of gravity torpedoing below the defenders to pick up the first down. If he'd have kept high, he would have been knocked backwards. But now the clock rolls under 2:40.
Still a chance to pick up another set of downs, with the ball spotted at the almost 20-yard line here. Candido 1st and 10. Keeper again for the quarterback, who's forced inside and still just staying on those tippy toes and able to pick up a gain of 4 on the play.
Now I think you'll see a little bit more conservative play calling from Ketch. Probably going to keep it on the ground, and this one's going to tick down to the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, we're not going to see another play before we hit that for sure, as Durham are starting to smile on that sideline. Shining in the night and shining under the lights in this 4th quarter. We've hit the 2-minute warning. I think the officials have a slightly different judgment of the time down there on the field, so Candido will have to take another snap. 2nd and about 5 yards required. Candido rolls to his right. Pagan helping on the blocking just to try and protect his quarterback, who's going the long way around with this one.
Big play by the defense.
Back towards the line of scrimmage. Forced out of bounds, and Candido going about 50 yards left, 50 yards right. Unfortunately, not going any yards forward. Loss of 2 on the play. And now we get to the 2-minute warning.
That is a 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left in regulation.
And 2 minutes from where Durham were, and 2 minutes on 3rd and 11 suddenly seem very different indeed of keeping this drive alive. The Bullets and that defence have, again, just a lifeline left in this game. If they can stop this, not make it 4th and short for Durham, not allow them to pick up the first down, and almost run this game out.
So here's your quandary now for Ketch. You obviously want to try and pick this first down up, but you equally want to keep the clock going.
Surely going to look to the air though for Candido. They've trusted him in big moments with his arm. Is this going to be another one for the Durham Saints number 10? Libman on his own on the left side of the offense. 3 receivers spread out to the right. Candido rolling backwards, going the wrong way, able to twist and turn and take his shot that's tipped by Franklin Jr. and incomplete. Clock stops moving with 1:52 on it in the 4th quarter. And now do you try and gain some extra yards like we saw earlier? Do you try and the optimistic kick on a very difficult night for special teams units?
And at the moment, Those UWE Bullets are around about 75 yards away from pay dirt. So quarterback staying out there, not going for the three.
It's not a big surprise to see Candido and the offense staying out.
It's not, but is it air or is it ground?
It's going to be air. Candido dropping back into a pocket that collapses around him, trying to step up into it. Again, looking to keep something alive. He's keeping those offensive linemen busy. They're earning their paycheck tonight, or at least their pay. Oh, and he makes the throw and catch. There's a flag in the end zone brought in by Cameron Lee. And depending on what this flag is, that is one of the biggest plays of Durham Saints season from Nico Candido and the connection with wideout Cameron Lee.
Yeah, I've just seen Cameron Lee roll his head back though. I don't think this one's going to count. And for all the good work from Candido, this one's coming back.
Pass interference. Offense, number 18. 15 yards. 4th down.
Marcus Libman sends the offense marching back.
But look at the work from Candido. You know, you've got to give this guy credit. Keeps the play alive. Eyes always downfield, even when he's got his back to the defense, and then puts up a pass. Great work again from Cameron Lee, regardless of the penalty, to keep working and try and get himself open for his quarterback. But the more important thing is now, look where the ball is. That's given the Bullets 15 yards of field position, taking a little bit of time off the clock, particularly with him running around. But if they don't make any yards here, that's made the equation a little bit easier for the Bullets, even though it is still a monumental task.
Ball on the 38-yard line in Bullets territory, and the punt unit is out now for Durham Saints. Not the best snap, but it is an opportunity to send one high down towards the end zone, and great coverage as well is going to allow this just to trickle down as they're almost urging it, trying to get that win to go themselves inside the 10-yard line. Ball's going to be spotted around the 7 or so, and it's going to be about 93 yards that separates UWE and the national title, or at least staying in the fight for one, because 8 points will only level things up. It's touchdown or nothing, and a 2-point conversion as well. It's a tough task, but one thing we know about this powerful offense, Ethan Gretzinger and co, they don't give up, and they tend to rise to these sorts of occasions.
Saw it at the end of the first half.
Gretzinger takes the snap. Floaty one out to his left side, just going in search of Josh Brees. That is not the way you'd want to start this drive. Throwing directly into that wind as well. If you start arcing it high, it's going to get caught, even if it isn't quite as blustery as it was earlier on in the evening. Yeah, just a bit of a hobble there as well from Brees. Second and 10. Gretzinger making time for himself. Might try and make yards for himself, and looking for it all on the big shot downfield up towards midfield, but incomplete. Goes searching again for Josh Brees.
Great coverage there by Jalen Wood, and Chance Sparks double bracketed the receiver, and you saw that was a little bit like sandlot football there, where Gretzinger rolls, keeps the play alive, points to his receiver to go downfield, hit that go route, and just tries to put it beyond the defenders, but great coverage downfield.
Third and 10. 1:13 remaining. Gretzinger and the offense still backed up inside their 10. Flushed out quickly, trying to evade the rush, able to stand back, throws deep. Went looking for Wimmer. Just wondered if there was any contact at all between he and the coverage in the secondary. Looked like there was some, but there's no real complaints from the wideout. And now we go into 4th down.
Here it is, the end of a long Premier National League season comes down to this 4th down and 10 for the Bullets. Is there one more piece of magic in the arm of Gretzinger?
Empty backfield, 5 wide receivers. Game on the line for Gretzinger. And it's tipped at the line of scrimmage. Gavin Tatum pressuring Gretzinger. And the Durham Saints know that surely is a national title coming their way. He and Zach McMinn have been imperious on that line and getting pressure for Gretzinger to deal with over and over again tonight through 4 quarters. And the Bullets' grip on the national championship has finally slipped.
Turn me the fuck up! Come on! Yes! Boo me all you want!
It's not going to be like earlier in the night. It is victory formation taking place. Candido takes a knee. A few chances trying to take the snap almost through the legs of the centre. Celebrations are already starting. We've got a player down on the field for the Saints.
You mentioned it earlier in one of the 2 games earlier on. Greatest formation in football if you're on the winning side.
It's a shame there, the injury that leaves the centre, Alunga Azmi, just hobbling off, that pauses the clock suddenly. But Candido once again gets to take the knee. And these last few seconds will tick away. Still no celebration from the Saints sideline just yet. But they're waiting to lift the lid on what is going to be an almighty party in Loughborough. And of course back home in Durham tonight. But now the cheers can start to erupt as we hit zeros in the 4th quarter. And back on top once again in British University football. The Durham Saints end the long wait for a national title. But the title is returning to the north. And Durham will celebrate the night away thanks to a sterling performance from Nico Candido at quarterback and an almighty defensive effort that has guided them past the Bullets and revenge for that 2024 final defeat. Danny Ketch and his team have worked so hard this season, and now Durham can have the moniker of Title Town for the next 12 months in University American football.
Mentioned at the beginning of the game, I spoke to Danny Ketch talking about the fact that UWE, Nottingham and these Durham Saints, the big 3 in this Premier National League. Is this the turning of the tide? You know those UWE Bullets will rebound. You know Nottingham Gold will rebuild. These 3, I think, are the trendsetters for the next 5 years at least. But what a night for those Durham Saints. What a night for Danny Ketch. And what a night for university football.
It's one of those games that many will argue is potentially for the purists this evening, Matt. But when those offences did produce big plays, the fact that they were doing them in such difficult conditions made it all the more impressive that still, when the odds were against them in making big plays downfield through the air, or when everybody was biting and blocking up the middle of the field on defence to prevent the run, in the end, it was the stars of this Durham Saints season that all rose to the occasion. Candido will take so much of the applause, but think about the big grabs coming up from Marcus Libman and Cameron Lee, and Brennan Pagan as well on both sides of the ball, helped out by that line. Gavin Tatum in on the action, Zach McMahon as well, superb, number 55. It was a team effort tonight, and it takes a team to build a title, and it takes a leader as well with a very mature, switched on head to be able to do that and finally topple the dominance at the top of British University American football that has been very much the title bestowed on UWE Bullets for the last 4 years.
Well, I think you've got to give a shout out to all 3 of those units. We mentioned Candido, we mentioned the receivers. Don't forget those big offensive linemen up front. Obviously, we talked quite a lot about Zach McKinn. We talked about Derek Elsholtz on the defense as well. We talked also, Brennan Pagan had an incredible game. Jalen Wood was in there. So to a man, offense, defense, special teams. You talked about the way that Danny Ketch has built this team, and you talked about high character guys, and we've seen that in evidence today. No turnovers tonight, and on a game with the conditions as they are, that's a testament to both teams. We've seen big plays, even though the wind, the rain would try to put pace to that. So big explosive plays, big runs, big passes downfield, accurate throws, and we've just basically seen the best that British American football has to offer.
Yeah, it's been a huge night in terms of the performance from Danny Ketch and his team, and credit as well to those coordinators, Ollie Monaghan, Josh Tucker as well on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, who've been so useful, so helpful to Danny Ketch in driving this program along throughout this season. March, Saints, March is the mantra. Well, March is now the month of the Saints as they get to celebrate their title this month. Danny Ketch said he wanted to finish the season the right way, and I think we saw that throughout tonight. It was slow to get started for this Durham Saints offense, but eventually once they got going, they were able to pull out 2 big scores on the ground and through the air from Nico Candido, the offensive captain and very much the leader on that side of the ball. That gives Durham a 14-6 victory over UWE Bullets. Spare a thought to Dan Mayer and the coaching staff as well. Rhiann Hudson, one of the offensive assistants out there for Jedrian Clark. Apparently the man, I'm told, who's got the best hair in British American football, Rhiann Hudson. And look, they've got some real creative minds out there in terms of their ability to dial up key plays in big moments. And tonight it just fell short slightly, particularly with Ethan Gretzinger taking a while to get going this evening. Let's have a look at the scores from tonight. The first one from Nico Candido on the ground, able to step up into that pocket as it started to collapse around him, but seeing the lane and the avenue, and once he made those first men miss, it was pure daylight in front of him, and happy to follow the floodlights home into the end zone. We thought it was going to be just one of those nights where we wouldn't see much through the air. That would change as the game wore on. Ethan Gretzinger able to find a reply just before half-time. Beautiful work to step back up into a pocket that shifted to the right. There was barely any of it, and finding Sam East for the score. A failed 2-point conversion, still leaving it a 1-point ball game in Durham's favour. This is what we saw so much of at the senior ball level from Gretzinger, and we just needed to see a little bit more from a Bullets point of view tonight. We'll give a lot of the credit for the reason that that didn't happen to that Durham Saints defence. And then the score that put the nail in the coffin. Candido, a perfect pass into the space in behind that secondary. Marcus Libman with the touchdown. Libman, a light that was shining throughout the third and fourth quarter, and a great connection on a few occasions for Candido. But it's that step up of the safety, Franklin Jr., that came down, that opened up the space over the top. And an easy score, an extra point as well, to leave us with a 14-6 victory in favour of the Saints. So the Saints go marching in, and they will make the last march to go and collect their trophy. And it is Durham who will celebrate this evening. Let's go back down to the field with Tash.
Thanks for that, Ollie. And I'm still here with Matt Walker on the sideline. What an emphatic win for the Durham Saints there.
Well, you know, we spoke at half-time about the teams that made the least errors, you know, that took the moments. And actually, I mentioned at the end there were no turnovers. In conditions like tonight, to have no interceptions, no fumbles, ball security was epic, okay? I say that, I've just remembered there was that one interception at the end of the first half, but regardless of that, that was an acrobatic catch. But other than that, the ball security was brilliant. Durham took their chances. That was the bottom line. You have to give credit to UWE. They've been at the top for so long. And when you kind of think to yourself, everybody, the neutrals, probably going to be gunning for UWE, wanting those Durham Saints to take that title. But you had to hold your nerve, and those Durham Saints managed that tonight.
And the thing is, it's not all doom and gloom for UWE, was it? When we look at some of the plays, they didn't have as many plays as what Durham did in that second half that could basically tip the game for them. But they did have number 7 Josh Breeze with that big run down the field to get them a bit of momentum in the game. They couldn't translate that into a score, but they still had momentum. And then later on they had a big pick opportunity that was unfortunately missed, but that could have really turned the game round.
It absolutely couldn't. The bottom line is we're not talking about like a 30-point blowout here. You know, UWE have lost by 8 points. Yes, it's going to sting. Yes, they're going to lick their wounds, but they will come back. You know, that hotbed of football down in the Bristol area, they've lost by a 1-score game. You know, of course they will have wanted to get that 6th national title, the 5th in a row, but tonight was Durham's night, and Durham deserve it.
Yeah, they really do. And I think, as you say about the hotbed of football over in Bristol right now, it truly is. A lot of these UWE players, they also play for the Bristol Aztecs, which are the current reigning Brit Bowl champions. So there's a lot of hope and promise within this UWE team.
There is. And, you know, we talk so often up there about defences bending, not breaking, and that red zone being so difficult to crack, and both teams struggled with that. I've got to say, I think the offensive line of the Durham Saints deserves so much credit tonight. They kept that pocket clean. Yeah, Candido was scrambling a little bit, but those lanes were available for him. The coverage from the UWE Bullets was good. Didn't have a lot of time. Yes, we hit that receiver, that Libman, on that last touchdown pass, on that beautiful seam down the middle, splitting the safeties. But for all intents and purposes, everyone to a man on that Durham team did their job, and that resulted in this national title.
Yeah, let's focus on that national title winning team right now, the Durham Saints. We wrote down so many players because they did have so many standout people. As we've talked about, Nico Candido, the incredibly talented quarterback there running the show. We've also got Marcus Libman, that number 18. On top of that, number 6, Brendan Pagan, who was just a multi-positional nightmare for UWE tonight. Bringing up big plays, not only on offense but also on defense. And we had down here about that moment in the 4th where he had the back-to-back turnover to ensure that then Durham started with that great positioning, which then ended up leading to a touchdown, which then brought in another ton of players. So you've even got Ricky Eng, you've got Cameron Lee. I've written down so many names because there are so many of those Durham players that have just stood out today.
We mentioned about the UWE Bullets being not one-dimensional, picky poison, but equally, as you've just highlighted, the Durham Saints are exactly the same. You cover one receiver, somebody else pops open. You shut the running back down, the QB takes off with his legs. But we've got somebody really important that we need to speak to really quickly.
We really do. We've just had our title-winning.
I apologise. I smell like. I don't know what it is. I smell like something though.
You go for it.
It's fizzy. That's all I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Again, congratulations. What a title that was. What is going through your mind right now? You've just won the title for the first time since 2018.
Just what a journey it's been to get here. Like, we came out of COVID, and 2019, 2020 was really difficult. We were about to play a national semi-final 48 hours before everything gets closed. Then your season gets cancelled, and you think you're in. We'd have played the UWE Bullets in the final. I remember thinking it would have been us. So you go from that, and then trying to recruit guys is really difficult because, COVID, and then building it in a division like the Premiership North as it was, with your likes of Nottingham, Loughborough kind of coming up, Leeds Beckett, it's tough, and it's unrelenting, and finding our culture, finding what we're about, and really building that around what we wanted to do was really important.
Yeah, for sure. And if you actually think about it right now, you've got so much support behind you. We saw it on the sideline today, but there is going to be lots of people at home right now watching you. What do you want to say to them?
Our journey's great. I've had great mentors. Jonathan Rooney, who was head coach here before me, really laid the foundation for what we've done. John Tate, back in the North East, who's an absolute flag football legend. He'll be watching. He'll be really proud. Ben Johnson, Graham Kelly, those guys. I wouldn't be anywhere near this without those guys, and I surround myself with people that are better than me, and I just try and make sure that we avoid the icebergs on the way. That's essentially my job.
For sure. And
I would say he's a humble guy, but we owe it all to this guy for recruiting all of us, for getting us here, for bringing us together. We wouldn't be here without this guy because he's truly one of a kind.
I was literally just about to say, you've got Nico Candido with you right now, and he is one of the guys that you've managed to recruit and bring onto this team. And How does it feel right now to be part of a team that has just taken down a national championship winning team, and not just once, but as you say, they've done it row after row after row, and you have managed to break that pattern? What does it feel like to be that quarterback to lead your team to that championship?
I mean, it feels amazing, but really what it is the journey there. It's also the guys that surround yourself. I just think, you know, our coaches, our players, our fans, everyone here is just so close, and I've never seen anything like it. And you can see on the field, no matter what, we're all together and we're all fighting for each other. And, you know, it's been an amazing England trip, but we owe it all to these guys, and it's so much fun.
It has been such a great, and honestly, it's been an amazing game to watch. But right now, you're about to go get your medals, so please go and join your team. Enjoy this moment. Thank you so much.
Thanks, go sit.
And we're going to throw it up to Ollie now, who will be taking you through the medal ceremony.
Thanks very much, Tash. Thanks very much, Matt. And congratulations to Danny Ketch and Nico Candido. And thank you so much to both of them for joining us in what is a night where they, I'm sure, want to be spending as much time with their teammates as they can do. For the UWE Bullets, it is a consolation prize of a runners-up medal. It will be a prize that will sting tonight. Maybe we'll have a bit more of a softening blow in the next few days or so. An incredible season, and there will be another fight at the top flight of University Britball for Dan Mayer and co. Always sensed that maybe there was something a little unsettled about this Bullets team coming into it. The fact that Dan Mayer was very much focused entirely on the job at hand coming into this evening, couldn't take himself away from warm-ups and anything else pre-match, and maybe just that slightly unusual record of being beaten already by the Durham Saints and not dominating the top class of British University American football like we've seen in the past, maybe was a sign of things to come tonight. But this is a programme that will live to very much fight another day, particularly with everything that is taking place down in that part of the world, in the UK, and the development of American football across all ages, to try and inspire talent and bring pathways to the United States for some of these players, helped massively as well by the introduction of the partnership with the Union Jack Classic that's coming in September to Wembley Stadium as college football drops onto our shores and powers tonight the end of the university season on Touchdown Tuesday. But after the long wait, the Bullets make their way off the field, not sticking around to see much of the trophy presentation. Some are, but not many. And it's those in white and purple tonight that will enjoy this moment, and a moment that will live long in the memory for these young men. A superb performance this evening. First up to take his medal, Peter Kennedy, but there are many following in hot pursuit to get their hands. Darius Ferreras, the nose tackle, presented with his medal. Zev Oka down there as well. As the head of BAFA, Chad Ellerts, handing out the medals to those that are willing to take them from him. Brennan Pagan, you just see there, well, his name was very much in the hat for MVP coming into the presentation ceremony. Some are already too cool for school with the shades on. The floodlights aren't that bright tonight. Wait to see who will be given the illustrious MVP award. It's a team game for sure, but you can tell from the awards we've seen earlier today that the teams love to see that individual brilliance from those that have made perhaps the biggest contribution on the evening. Get their moment in the sun. Chance Sparks there, you just see, was taking his medal and walking out of frame. A huge night for him with that incredible interception of Gretzinger, leaping high into the night sky despite the wind, despite the rain, despite everything against him, despite everything being against almost every single man who made a pick or a catch down there. It was being a tough night to execute. Sparks front and centre. It'll be a night, I'm sure, where many of these players will want to lie back just like this for as long as possible. It's time to let this just sink into the system. National champions once again. 8 years in waiting. Runners-up 2 years ago, runners-up in 2017. The National League winners are now national champs. Now everybody just wants to see where that silverware is going to come into the equation. Nico Candido gets his name called. I don't think anybody's told him. I think he's missed it. And he needs to go up and collect his MVP award. He wants to stay with his teammates. That's like a true leader. Well, you can certainly see Peter Kennedy trying to steal it away. He was first up to try and take that as quickly as possible. But that man is your MVP of the National Championship game. That's going to look good on a university polo somewhere. MVP, those three prettiest of letters stitched into the breast of it. But that'll look even better somewhere around the Durham campus as it makes its return once again. Handed off to Danny Ketch. Canyon Utley makes his way into the gaggle of his teammates, and it's the Durham Saints who celebrate as national champions. They had to do it the hard way this evening. They had to grind with gritted teeth, but they have edged out the team that have been the titans at this level of British American football. And perhaps tonight is a night where there is a changing of the guard at the top level of university ball. Everybody being called into the group to get involved in the celebrations. That's the kind of team this is. That's the kind of philosophy that Danny Ketch has instilled into his team. And a kiss of the trophy from the head coach. As we can leave Durham with their celebrations and go back down to Matt Walker and Tash on the sideline.
So Matt, the trophy has been lifted. What are your final thoughts on that game?
My final thoughts are, given the conditions we've had tonight, we've seen a fitting end to a really competitive Premier League season. I think the whole day has been incredible. You guys, Ollie, yourself, covered those two games earlier on absolutely incredibly. We had 3 champions crowned today, but the culmination of that is seeing the Durham Saints perch atop the National League, deservedly so.
I think it makes for a really good setup for what's to come next season. So that's it. Durham get their second title. Nico Candido, MVP. And then the finale of Touchdown Tuesday, powered by Union Jack Classic, has been delivered. And there is still so much sport to come, isn't there, with BUCS Big Wednesday? That's exciting, and that's what's up next for anybody here at Loughborough, isn't it?
It's absolutely brilliant, the way that these end of season fixtures come about, and the fact that we've got our very own day, Touchdown Tuesday, to start things off. What more could you want for? The university level of sport in this country is just going through the roof, and this was fantastic today, and it's going to be another incredible day of action all over the place tomorrow.
And there's so many sports as well involved, isn't it, across the board. As you say, American football having their own specific day has actually made things so much more exciting for the American football community, but there is still that whole programme of BUCS Big Wednesday for everyone to enjoy.
Absolutely, and the benefit of university sport is, yes, there is elite sport, but it is for everybody. Whatever your level, whatever your interest, whatever your persuasion in terms of your sport, get involved with university sport, because I do believe the Americans have coined university sport as their stepping stone, and I think we're on the verge of doing very similar.
Yeah, I think there's such an opportunity here for, as you say, elite athletes within the UK to be noticed through things like BUCS Big Wednesday, through things just like university sports, just being involved in it. Because not only do you have BUCS Big Wednesday, you also have the championships. So you need to be looking at those solo sports people who also have their own individual championships, the swim meets, etc. All of those opportunities, and that doesn't necessarily all happen over BUCS Big Wednesday. But you have all of the culmination of the team sports. And that's what's so important with this, is that all of these teams have been working up to this point to get to tomorrow, and not everyone can get there, can they?
No, absolutely not. I mean, my son's a national level swimmer, and he, has watched the BUCS swimming championships avidly, and I think, like you say, whether you're an elite athlete or whether you are somebody just involved in an athletic union, the way you can get involved in sport at university level is like we've never seen.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Matt, for joining me, and thank you to Ollie Wilson, who was on commentary all day today. That has been Touchdown Tuesday, powered by Union Jack Classic, the first one within the BUCS calendar, hopefully many more calendar years to come. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Don't forget tomorrow, BUCS Big Wednesday, here at Loughborough. Good night.
So much more time when we were younger. Feels like it was just yesterday. Lost in the summer haze. Wish we could stay a little longer.